North American stock futures slightly mixed to kick things off once again this morning as we wrap up a little bit of a volatile week, awaiting the Fed's press conference coming up. Fed Chair Powell set to make comments later this morning, 10 a.m. in fact, to wrap up the Jackson Hole Symposium. The virtual event this year will, two-day event obviously, being wrapped up with Fed Chair Powell making comments again at 10 a.m. So that's going to be the big marker of the day. We'll see what happens at 10 a.m. for the overall market. As I mentioned, a little bit mixed to come in this morning. The major global news, obviously, the situation continuing in Afghanistan. 13 U.S. service members dying yesterday, along with 18 wounded, as many as 60 Afghans losing their lives as well in an apparent suicide blast, two of them, in fact, that we spoke about yesterday. We'll keep an eye on anything that develops as far as that situation continuing as well. Lots to talk about as far as things that are moving around here in the pre-market, including support.com just going absolutely crazy right now. We'll get to that. Peloton shares under pressure this morning. A bit of a disaster as far as their earnings report. A DOJ investigation now for Peloton as well. And Gap reported. Nice report for another retailer. It's Friday, August 27th, 2021. TraderTV.live starts now. There we go. As mentioned, a little bit mixed to kick things off this morning. Back to the upside for the most part for all three U.S. indexes. Very slight gains to mention at this point. Same story for the TSX futures here in Toronto. Brazil Open trading up about 0.5%. Big bounce for crude oil, 2.25% back to the upside. You can see cryptos back in positive territory. 55. What is going on? SPRT. $55 to kick off the show here, guys. 180% on this thing. 25.5% on the short side as far as the float is concerned for support.com. It's not a big float either. It's only about 15 million shares for this thing. There's no apparent news here, but wow, pretty epic.
We're not off to a good start there, Brennan. So, I mean, look, it's actually not that bad, but it is that bad. Why? Because I actually had the break on support. When it took out what was the high, there was a point this morning where 34 was the high and it was a breakout. And in typical Neil fashion, because if you've been following the show long enough, when it pulled back off at 36, I actually trailed it out. I'm like, okay, how can you use a trail in a stock like this in the pre-market? You can't. It's stupid. And then you saw me put in the chats like, yeah, by the way, pray for me if it gets to 50 because I can't help myself. And the room's like, why don't you let it break first? And I'm like, nah, man, I'm going in. Yeah, there you go. It actually, so I had like 48.70 there, and it came right down. I was actually on the bid just sub 45 in front of this level, and then it bounced right off 46. Then you can see it stopped out at 50. I mean, the only good thing about this is I actually took it out at 50, and now it went to 55. So I feel like there is going to be an interesting stock today. Maybe it's going to be support. Should be a fun one, obviously, but the squeeze is still on. There hasn't been a huge retracement. And man, there's so much to actually get to, like Peloton, monster moves. Like Peloton has come from the lows in the pre-market yesterday, $10, now only down 5%. You have Gap earnings as well. You have some of the Chinese names under pressure. Ooh, there's a short I like on Alibaba, and I hate saying it, but I'm a day trader, and it's there, Arun.
Yeah, Baba is one of those things we were looking at. It's a gap down. We were short on this yesterday in the I guess the late session, and then we kind of ran out of time, and then it gaps down to 160. So we're looking for more shorts. I'm looking below 158 and change, but you know what? The stock right now is going to be SPRT, and I finally, I paid for shorts for the first time in a long while. I paid for shorts on this stock, so at some point I will be trading SPRT. However, we'll get to Brendan because this thing is going to be moving around quite a bit now.
Yeah, they weren't cheap either as far as locates go for SPRT.
Weren't they, though?
Amazing volume here, 12 million shares already in the pre-market. So lots to get to. Before we get any further, though, let's get over to the desk and say good morning to Miss V.
Wish you a great and successful day. Please enjoy the show and don't forget to like this video. Let's get it started, Brandon.
I'm hearing lots of Valeria today. We had Speakers in the studio here, guys. I want to talk about Apple to kick things off. We'll get back to some of these crazy movers in a second here, but interesting look for Apple. There was a story this morning suggesting they're going to relax some of their restrictions for the App Store, the iOS App Store. So we are positive here for Apple once again. Overall, not a huge move, but it did pop up right about there when that headline came out again. They're going to relax for some independent, smaller developers to maybe include more when it comes to the App Store, guys.
Yeah, the thing about this story, and I think for a lot of what we've been talking about with Apple, or I guess regulations, is this has never really been about necessarily breaking companies up or anything like that. Most of the issues have been, antitrust side, and then deal making, and then of course, the leverage that they have within the App Store and their platform. Now, you're going to see the stock basically flat here, I think, because everyone was expecting that some concession was going to get made, and it was a bit of a choppy session yesterday for Apple, at least if you consider it to the rest of the week. And I would not be surprised. Obviously, some of this has to do with it following the market, and everyone's waiting for the J-hole for Powell to speak today at the Jackson Hole meeting. Oh, now I can't not say J-hole, but you might get a breakout because of that. I don't know if this is going to be a gigantic driver. There's no way to frame it as good news for Apple in the long term, but I think because everyone had sort of been pricing in the expectation that there were concessions that were going to have to get made, that's probably why you're going to have muted action. I just feel like we're following the market here on Apple, and it's going to take its cues from whatever we get out of the Fed with regards to tapering, the potential speed of that tapering or lack thereof, or if there will be even any in the final quarter of the year, which I think the consensus is that they will probably start thinking about it, at least, or thinking about it, I guess.
Yeah, we have been looking at Apple. I'm looking at Apple below 147.50. I think we've been bouncing off this 147.50 and change area for a while now. So technically it is kind of going sideways. So a breakdown through there would be a pretty solid shot if we can just grab that low risk and then see if we can get below 147. I think that's a shot that I'm willing to take on Apple. But for now, it is going sideways, so I have to wait for that breakdown to happen before I even try to make a move. To the upside, though, once we get above 149, you got action between 149 and 150. So I think the only trade I can really see that's clear somewhat is the downside trade. The upside trade gets a little messy, so I'm going to stay away from that. But the downside is there, 147.50 on the downside break.
Arun, maybe we can talk about the overall market to kick things off here this morning, because it's going to be something we need to watch, especially around this 10 o'clock announcement, or it's not going to be an announcement, but a press conference from Fed Chair Powell. Again, this symposium wrapping up, two-day symposium, going to wrap up today with comments from Fed Chair Powell. One of those events, though, if you've never traded the overall market through an event like that, best to be hands off, just watch, see what happens. There might also be, nothing come from this, because they've already talked about some of this tapering coming into effect as soon as Q4. What are you expecting today?
Okay, so a lot of these events, when it's a binary decision, like it's a press release and it's a matter of just seeing the information on paper and then reacting to that, it's different from when words are coming out of someone's mouth and it's an interpretation of those words, and then 5 minutes later there's a comment on those words, and things get really volatile very quickly. So I personally, if I were in a position, you have until 10 o'clock, if I were to get into a position at say 9 o'clock, I would, around 10, as we know this is coming out, I would start to trim some risk, because we don't know how this is going to go. It might help your position, but more often than not, what you're going to see is a directional move in one direction, complete reversal in the opposite direction as people are digesting and trying to interpret the words. And then you're going to see this market go absolutely crazy before it figures out, you know what, this is a good thing, let's go up, or this is a bad thing, let's go down. So there's a lot of volatility, and I think you don't want to get caught in that wash, in that whiplash that comes around initially right off the bat. So trying to avoid that, trying to cut down risk. If your stops are wide enough, maybe, but is it worth putting up that kind of risk if you have a big position? I would say no. So I would definitely trim some risk. If we take a position around 9, then I can see myself trimming some risk going into 10 and then hold some. Maybe you get that lucky move off of that release, and then we actually get trading in your favor. But for now, I would say trim some risk. We are bouncing off of this in terms of futures. Let's talk about these 70s. We were talking about 70 shorts yesterday. We were working 70 shorts. We held it 15 points against us. It came back down towards the close, ended up flat on the day. And it looks like, remember, they bounced once around 10, around 11 or so, off the initial news out of, I guess, related to the overseas news. And then we bounced up, and then we came right back down towards the close. And then we kind of tried to break down in the aftermarket, in the overnight session, and then we could not. So we got right back in there. So the fact that we bounced twice around 70 and then try to break one more time below the 65 low and bounce back in, I would say there's a decent amount of support here. We're going to move the levels down. 44.60 is going to be the support base, and I'm actually going to start to try to find some longs below 75 even. So 15-point risk if I can actually find a trade before this 10 o'clock, I guess, headline risk that we got to worry about. So if I can find something around 75 that sets up, I'm willing to put up 15 points and see if I can get a bounce before 10 o'clock. If we're sitting at 90 going into 10, I can see myself taking some out and then positioning the rest to make sure that I can avoid getting caught. But 44.60 does seem to be the level of interest on the upside. And here I am trying to get some shorts actually in SPRT right now.
And overall, as far as the actual comments are concerned, obviously, if there's any kind of indication to the tapering starting sooner than they had previously indicated, you might get a bit of negativity here. Let's talk Cassava Sciences, guys. Just reading this press release from Quanterix, which apparently the company engaged to do some laboratory testing on their Alzheimer's treatment. The company came out, and there was reports a couple of days back about this data being negative or more negative than first thought. So the company came out and released a statement saying they did not interpret test results, so they didn't actually publish any test results as far as Cassava is concerned. But this thing down big time on that.
Yeah, it's another leg down for Cassava Sciences. And the sad thing about it, too, is like we always talk about opportunity cost, but I mean, one of them in the pre-market here was just basically staring at support, because for obvious reasons, staring at support.com and making a couple of trades on that, only to watch Sava continue that rollover. I mean, just absolutely plowing through the bottom yesterday, those sort of the lows that we're looking at yesterday. And you start to think about like where support will be, and it's like when you start coming up with numbers like 47 to 50, and then from there, like now I'm thinking 38 if that breaks. Obviously on the daily chart here, on the 15-minute chart, you're gonna watch for, if it pulls back like 65 to like 68, like that. So 68 on the initial drop yesterday, where it bounced, that's where I got trailed out at 61, and 65 was the original target to the downside. So that sort of $3 band, I guess, like that 65 to 68, would sort of turn into like a resistance level for me if somehow Sava makes a bit of a bounce. Now, it actually just did. Most of that probably has to do with just the ridiculous flush out that you saw, because this is now a few days in a row. Like, it was cut in half from that 145 double top, and now even more so. So it's just been absolutely a disaster for Cassava Sciences. It goes without saying that it's SSR. I mean, obviously that's going to be true. But at this point, I'm looking to short it on a pop, and only that. I mean, I suppose if it went down and maybe flushed out that low again, broke 50, held that 48 level, and came back up through 50, like maybe that's the kind of thing that could be a long, but I kind of feel like I'd rather die on the sword shorting it off the levels I like, and if it gets back to that 65 to 68 for Sava, I think it's going to be that.
Yeah, man, Sava. Okay, by the way, I'm out of the short. I was in the short on the SPRT, just in front of 48 even. I am out. Again, this is sometimes you trade with the charts and sometimes you kind of go off the volume that you're seeing. I kind of played around volume. And
that was a good short.
It was. Seems like a good short, but I don't know. I wasn't a fan of what was going on around 48, so I'm going to wait a little bit if I want to take a short again. But hey, I made 4 cents. I'll walk away with 4 cents. Back to Sava. It looks really good now. Now it's like $2.50. But Sava, here we go. Sava, man, that 68 break. This has been in play for days now, right? This was off the 115 move all the way overnight, and then we were looking at 96 into 100 a couple of days ago, and then that kind of went down, and then the 80 yesterday, 80, 70, 78, 80. I believe Neil had that yesterday, and then that went down to 68, and then it's just taken multiple steps to the downside. And here we go, another step to the downside, taking out 68 as low as what, 54 it looks like. So in terms of trading this, I don't know how you can actually declare levels to work with. The closest level I see is 76, which would be the the post session or the late session high from yesterday, right? It's around 74 to 76. Now, if we get back into the 68s and start to slow down, that's an option. But at the same time, given the speed that it's completely falling apart, I'd be careful. I'd want to see, it's not going to be one of those trades you get in instantly. I want to see some setting up around 68. And this time, unlike the 90-something level that me and Neil talked about and then never ended up taking, maybe this time we'll actually look at this and actually, if you know what, maybe it's time to short and we'll actually take a look and actually go for the short around this time. But you know what, it is moving fast. So it's just something on the radar, but I don't see any trades right now on Sava.
All right, just noticing AMC trying to bounce back up here, guys. We'll have a look at some meme stocks, why don't we? Because they kind of came back to life earlier in the week, going back a couple days ago. But AMC just popping up on volume scanner here. Trying to get back above 40, I guess, which was key at the end of the day yesterday. We're not far from positive territory either. Overall, I mean, yeah, a couple of red days on the daily chart, but constructive, I would say.
Yeah, look, I will say this. Dollar says that when AMC made that bottom here, that's exactly when you made the top there on SPRT. Guaranteed. That's what I was saying. You know that's going to be true because it's always true. It seems like the money just sort of rotates one to the other. We've blown through some key levels on AMC here. There's probably, and I look back and I don't know if we're going to get it because it just made that turn through 40 here. But there is this 37 quarter area that would be the next at least leg to the downside where it can maybe catch a bit of a bid. But it seems like it's trying to catch one at 40 as we speak. We liked that 40.50 yesterday. Tried it at the close. You know, it couldn't hold on. And obviously, there was a bit of a scalp trade there, which I wasn't really taking. I could have looked the gift horse in the mouth and then just took it out when it broke. Well, before it broke the low because we ran out of time there. And then we're going to be testing back in this range. And I don't want to be like if you're breaking out here through like 41 quarter or something along those lines, or if you're flushing out into these levels here, like so that like the 37 quarter where you'd probably pick up a long, and then you're holding these lower levels down here, like 36.50, risking about $1. Like those are trades that would actually set up a little bit better than maybe buying it right now, which it feels like that turn to me was pretty simply support made a top. And turn around, and AMC just started going, and people just okay, one to the other, and it seems like one of those. And I don't want to get wrapped up on okay, let's chase a move like this, or let's just put some credence into that level, because the timing of when it turned had more to do with something just so random that I wouldn't put any stock in the current bottom that AMC just made. I'd sort of go with the levels that I would have been looking at before. I also made a comment yesterday in the afternoon show that GME had been putting in relative strength, and over at least in the last few months, I've traded GME a little bit better than I have AMC. And by a little bit, I mean I'd like to say a lot because it's just a better hit rate for me overall. GameStop is doing literally nothing today. So it's not that it's off my radar completely. You can see what that 215 level has kind of been doing, where it's like strong moves into, and then a little bit weaker, and then just an abject failure the last time through 215. That does set up both ways here. It does mean if it gets off the schneid and clears this, it's got room to make a $10 move, but you got to think about fade first, or at least I will be thinking about a fade first on GameStop through 215. It did not retest these 195s yesterday, so that at least gives you the chance here. These are all pre-market trades. It gives you a chance at like a 202 right at the open. It was breaking off of those levels, but it never really actually got down to 195. So it does give you a chance for like a 200 to 202 like rollover into the downside into that 95 range if it does test it, and then a 95 break would also be on the cards potentially for GameStop. Unfortunately, it's just not doing any volume. So support is taking all of the gusto, I think, and it's back to 50.
Yep.
So much for that being a good. I was about to say that short you had on Arun was like, that's a good short. Why'd you get it up? And that was the right call then.
But that's exactly the thing, right? When you're trading these that are moving at this speed, and sometimes the chart's not going to help you out. You got to go based on what you're seeing on the time and sales. And the time and sales was there's a lot you got to. That's kind of based on experience as well. But there's a lot there that said, you know what, this may not have the kind of juice to the downside just yet. So bail out. When in doubt, just get out. Get out flat, right? So. I got out, took my 4 cents, walked away. We'll go to AMC now. AMC is one of those things where 42 to 40 even was going to be the support base. We got underneath it, and now we're bouncing back above 40. If we can maintain this 41, I think that kind of confirms what we were seeing on the buy side here around 42 and change. So It does have the potential to set up and have some stability. I think it's just got to get back above 40 and above 41 to be clear. That would establish 39 even as your next support level. How I would play this, I'm not sure, because the direction, I don't say the direction is down, but the trend is slightly to the downside. Do we need to clear a few levels? For me, I would, even though 41 would declare itself as support, once you get across, once you cross it, it would declare itself as support. But the problem for me is then you've got to worry about, as a day trader, can we clear 42, 42 and a half, 43? Is the risk going to make any sense? So for me, I think I would stay away from this, and that's just from the day trading perspective. I would stay away from this until it got back above 45, at which point that would kind of confirm everything that we've been seeing. The midterm is 41. That would confirm somewhat what we were seeing, but 45 would actually confirm everything that I would expect down here as support. And at that point, maybe that might be of interest to me. But you know what? SPRT is moving fast, aggressive, and this is probably going to get really interesting at the open. So hey, you pay for some shorts. Let's take a look and see how far we can get with that. Brendan?
All right, a few analyst moves to mention for you guys this morning. eBay, top of the list on the upside today. COTY, beauty company, earnings a couple days back, I believe, but note it is negative, even with a price target increase. Workday, a big move on the list this morning. XPeng as well. Some Chinese negativity coming back in with more regulations, more talk about they're actually not going to allow tech companies to IPO in the US. Disney, Dollar Tree, HP, Ulta Beauty to the downside.
I just want to make a comment on Dollar Tree. I've actually got an order on Dollar Tree waiting to get filled here, just in front of 93. I think we've broken some support here around 93. We were kind of stalling around 94. So the fact that we were actually able to kind of get down here and trade at 92.50, so it's kind of thin here. Let me put up the level 2 on it. It's kind of thin, so for me, I'm going to definitely leave the order in and see if I can get filled quietly, because, I mean, it's done 37,000 shares since our servers came up at 6 a.m., and there's not a whole lot. It's a 7-cent spread, a few hundred shares there, a few hundred shares there. I'm not going to get everything I want based on the way this looks right now. So put some orders in, hide them, and see how much we can get filled in front of 93. With the stop on this, where's the stop on this? The stop is just above 95 and change. So the stop is about $2 or so on Dollar Tree, and I think it really has a chance. Given how it's moved and the fact that it's kind of just gone sideways and then broke back one more time, I'm hoping this can do a Sava move and kind of just do steps on the way down, and that'd be a great setup if we can get it. I think $2 is worth the risk on that.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things that I don't want to be setting up for short. And I said this earlier, like Alibaba setting up for one. Unfortunately, if it breaks that 160, and then CRM, another one, another stock I like, so setting up as well. But BBIG up about 12%, and you guys, well, I mean, the chat was rightfully pointing this one out. There's a level, and again, double top from Wednesday, but also you go to the daily chart, and it's a weak level at 335. Now, if it breaks this, you're probably looking at, and again, there's a lot of chop in this stock. There's no clear, clean turnaround, I guess, till you get like a 4-quarter 450. So first test is right here at that 335. The only problem is the volume isn't exactly screaming on BBIG. It's under 1 million shares on my book, from what I can tell. That's why I don't like it for a breakout trade. So I'm gonna be looking at this stock. I've added it to my list. It's not really grabbing the attention going into that level. And again, this is a 15-minute here when I talk about the double top on Wednesday. Just not enough volume. Like, yeah, you guys can see the volume. It's just not much pre-market volume here to entice what I think could be a breakout, especially when it's going like parabolic, like 10% into a level like that on not huge volume. Don't know, some chop above that price. That's why I would stay away from it, at least personally for the long side. I'm not even shorting it either. I'd rather just allow the stock to open up, see if it doesn't test some of these key levels, whether it's here at 335, or even if it tries to break it, we'll look 350, and that 425 could be in play. So I'll sit it out till it actually opens up or increases in volume.
All right, I do want to say one thing. Dirk, I see you in the chat. You said, what exactly is happening at 10 o'clock? The Fed Chairman, Jerome Powell, will be speaking at the Jackson Hole Symposium at 10 o'clock. So, you know, anytime he speaks, everyone's got to listen, market's going to listen. Everyone's looking towards what's going to happen with rates and what's the projections and tapering. So there's a lot of talk that needs to be kind of clarified. And I think people are looking for comments to kind of get that clarification so they can set their expectations. And you're going to see the market react. If there's something there that kind of confirms or rejects what the expectations for the rate schedule is going to be, or for the taper talk is going to be, you're going to see the market move. So that's what everyone's looking at 10 a.m.
Yeah, there's been a lot, to say the least, a lot of build-up to this event coming this Friday, or today, obviously, at 10 o'clock. So we'll touch on that when it happens. In the meantime, let's get into everything else that's noteworthy this morning. If you haven't done so, make sure you take a second and sign up for the absolutely free morning note we send out every single morning before we come on at 8:30. Has everything you need to know heading into the session on it. Let's talk about Peloton, guys. Earnings report was a mess, to put it nicely, really. They also announced this morning the U.S. Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland Security subpoenaing the company for some documents and information regarding some of the accidents and injuries that were caused from the accidents surrounding the treadmill. If you go back to May, remember they decided to pull the treadmill off the shelf. They have since announced, I think it was earlier this week, they announced that they were going to relaunch the treadmill coming up next week in this country and in the U.S. So what do we think of Peloton here, guys? It is down, obviously, but showing some strength.
It is, first of all, it was a wild ride in the aftermarket here, but on the daily chart, this is going to seem really choppy because it is, but you can kind of sniff out this is a 110 break. This isn't a 110 area hold. Then you had some consolidation at that 110 level where, it had like a good, $4 or $5 range either side of it. You pop down and then now you're immediately testing that 110. Now my first thought is, you're going to be cutting the price of their cheaper treadmill 20%. Part of the forecast for lower sales, when you look at the analysts, it was like analysts were expecting it was like a bill, and then they forecast 800 million. Well, I mean, the analysts would have had absolutely no idea that they were going to cut the bike price by 20%, right? So there's a little bit of that baked in. I guess that means it's not quite as bad as expected, but I'm not wrapping my head around how this is right back into like the 110 range. So if it breaks up, just showing on the daily chart, it actually did have some room each time it broke to price acceptance about like that 13, 14 level. I came in here thinking that it would be, and again, this is when it was at 103, that it would be more of a fade around 6 to 8, like that range in front of 10. But as you can see, on over 1 million shares worth of volume, we're already here at 10. So, got to bump that up. Like if I'm looking to be on the south side of Peloton, which $6 ago looked a heck of a lot better, it's got to be in that 110 to 113 range again, where it would have been Wednesday, I suppose. On Wednesday, where you had that 113 floor, you held the high there on Tuesday, and then you had, I guess, support there in yesterday's close. So for me, Peloton, it's incredible momentum. Maybe there's a dip to be bought, but I'm going to stick with the short side of the trade. If it breaks at 110, which it looks like it's about to do any second now, it's into that target range. 113 would be the stop, maybe give it a few pennies upside there. I'd rather see it slowly turn as opposed to just jumping in front of this thing in the pre-market. But I'll probably, if it breaks 110, I think I might have a position to the short side in front of 113 before we even open up here. We got like a half an hour to go. It just seems inevitable.
Well, 110 just broke, and I'm going to go in the opposite direction. I'm thinking long above 110 on Peloton. Peloton's one of those stocks I just don't get. Like, our office is not too far away from one of the ritzy shopping areas here in the city, and they have a store right beside the Louis Vuitton and the Chanel stores, and I'm just like, why? Dude, I didn't realize, one, they had physical stores, and two, I'm like, this is not really a fitness company. It's more of a fashion company and like a trendy. Me and Neil had a conversation about this. This seems to be less about fitness and more about fashion statements and ability to say, oh, I have one, I have this. So Peloton, here it is coming back above 110. I'm going to wait for some more information. It does seem like the market doesn't really care. You know what? We went down all the way down to 97, and here we are back above 110. If we can actually get back up to 113, I think a risk would make sense. 110 long, 107.50 on the stop. If we can stabilize above 110, which would have been the highest point we bounced back after the lowest point we had yesterday. So the lowest was 97, and then instantly the highest point we did after 97 was 110. So the fact that we're back above here kind of makes things easier for me to declare some levels. 110 long, if we can stabilize here, 107.50 on the stop. But I am looking at the opposite trade that Neil is on Peloton.
All right, we discussed the overall market and what's to come coming up at 10 o'clock here early on. Arun, why don't we get another look here at the futures and understand a little bit what we need to be aware of today going into that 10 a.m. press conference.
Futures, eh? Okay, let's get back to the futures because we were just looking at Sava. Sava still falling apart. SBRT coming back a little bit. Let's take a look. And Peloton was taking off. Futures are at 79. I'm looking for potential longs. As I mentioned earlier, I'm looking for longs in below 75 so I can use 60 as the risk. We've got an hour left. At this point in time, if we can't get a trade in the first half hour, or in the next half hour before 9:30, or I'll even say 9:40, just to give the open a chance to actually set some levels up or even catch some buying off the 75 area. If we can't get something by then, I think I really can't take anything at that point. Do I really want to talk? Do I really want to take risk going into that talk coming out of Wyoming or Jackson Hole? I like to stay away from it. For now, the market's strong at 80. There's a lot here. We can zoom this out. We've spent a decent amount of time in the 80 range for the last few days, for a week or so. We've been here kind of flirting 80s, and then we got as high as 98 and change, close to 4,500. So what do you do in this situation at this price? You really can't do a whole lot. You just can set the top end, which is 4,500 even, bottom end 4,460. If you can get something below the support base, which seems to be around 75 or so, make the risk were worth it at that point, then maybe there's a trade. If you get into the top end around 44.90, and this is my concern, if we get to the top end and we start to fade a little bit, do I actually want to go short right even if it's 10 points away from 4,500? My concern always with these round numbers is how many stops are up above these big round numbers. 4,500 is a huge round number. Anyone who's trading shorts, say in the high 80s, low 90s, is probably going to be using 4,500 as a round number to kind of put their stops in. So if that goes, how aggressive is that going to be when it breaks? Could it just be a stop run that comes right back down? There's so many questions with 4,500, so I'd rather stay away from it. I'll be forced. For me to go short at 44.90 and change, you got to force me into it. But the long, that's a little different story because I would rather be long and then we break 4,500. I think that's a better trade. You want to be in this direction where the stops are going to help you and not make things worse for you. And I think 4,500 is that point where if you're short in front of it and the stops go off, that could become a problem because you get squeezed for no reason. But if you're long, hey, a squeeze is the great thing, right? SPRT is showing why. And Piton, by the way, is taken off at 112 now. So clearly, 110 break to the upside is gone. I'm not sure. Neil's still looking at the short in front of 113, I believe. So for now,
I just started it. I got the 111s now. I'll wait till it tests 113 to get back in. But Sava, because Sava Science is just freaking me out, man. Like, it's just, why, like, we just finished going over the stock saying that I really like that 65 to 68 level when it looked like it had a chance to push to the upside. And I was talking about 48 and 36 as 36, 37 as potential support areas. And like 10 minutes later, well, maybe 15 minutes later, we're now looking at a 48. Like, give me a break, Cassava Sciences. This is going to be the one that got away because I can't believe you could have shorted just about any price. And of course, support starting to come back in pretty heavily as well. That just came down into $40, guys. So you have a couple of things falling like a rock. As a matter of fact, Peloton, I was just staring at Peloton 2 seconds ago up at 112, thinking about I'm going to get more shares in front of 113. And while that's happening, Sava makes a bit of a bottom. Support.com does this in the same minute. I'm now back to flat on Peloton. It's back down at 111. So you're getting some acceleration on some of these names. I'm willing to bet AMC probably just made a move. I'm not buying a dip at 9 o'clock on support. I really want this stock to open up. I've already sort of bungled along that I didn't hold on to. Never put a trailing stop in at that time. Either let it ride or let it go back to break even. It's that simple. That's what I should have done. I know it. Terrible. I don't mind shorting in front of 50. The other day I had one stock and got it for like $7 pre-market, and that's fine as long as you have a tight stop. And it was a relatively tight stop, like $1.50 on that one on support. Now we're looking at double top 55, 56 area. Worth noting, this breakout from the morning, this is right about that 28 level. If you kind of come in here to where it was at 6 a.m., and this is random. I know it seems random, but yeah, that's basically double. If you look at 27 half, 28, up to like a 55, 60 top, essentially you just put in a double, and that's what happened to turn, and then put in a double bottom. Sometimes it's just like these are the levels, and that's the way things work out. I also want to talk about Neuro because I know a lot of you are looking at this particular name. Ignore this wick here at 8 o'clock when some of that overnight dark pool printing comes in. That is a 1275 bottom, 1275, 1275, now consolidating off and breaking through now that 13 area on Neuro. This has been a bit of a run. Now, obviously, it's bouncing up. It doesn't really matter that Maybe it does that it's bouncing off the 50 period, but been falling back in since its last, I guess, push up, squeeze up, whatever you want to call it, and then consolidating for a bit of a breakout. This break here sits at that $12 range. So you do have, and again, so if you look at that 12.75, where I'm actually looking to go short in a break, you got to immediately start thinking about that 12, and if even that 12.25 here. So this is 12.25. This is going to be 12, that recent high, a couple of recent highs if you go out in the last couple of weeks, and the same cluster on the way up here in the pre-market. So it breaks that 75, definitely taking profit from a 50, quarter, and then 12 even. I'm actually thinking flat in front of 12 even on a break, no matter how good it looks, just based on what I'm looking at for those levels and the fact that it's been bouncing onto 50 period. This is the first day that it's moving to the upside. Even if a short works, I kind of don't want to be betting that it's falling all the way back into the bottom here on day one on Neuro.
Heads up on TKT as well, starting to move a little bit back above 12 there on volume. Anyone watching TKT, big mover past couple days. Let's go to Gap. GPS up nicely this morning, more than 6% still, coming back to the downside though. Another retailer obviously doing quite nicely in this current quarter. Their report better than expected right across the board. They raised their full year sales forecast. They raised their same-store sales forecast. So hard to find a negative number in this report for GPS.
Yeah, I'm looking at GPS and I'm thinking, you know what, 27.50. I'd like to go long here around 28, put up 50 cents, but I just want some more info. I want to kind of get this kind of stabilize a little bit. It seems like we did pierce. I don't think we actually did. It would have been an 8 o'clock pierce of 28, probably from the dark print. So you see this tail down here. So I'm going to go ahead and say no to that downside move there. So we're still waiting for some action below 28. I want to see how much is left down there. If we can actually confirm that there's some decent support down there, the long at 28 with the 27.50 stop is the way to go with this. And I would argue that 29 could easily be your first target. So 2-to-1 risk reward in that situation. But GPS, I am waiting for some potential longs off of that 27.50. If we break 27.50, I'm going to just kind of walk away from this. I don't really care for the short. Not the way it's set up, but the long is there if we can actually get the confirmation around 28, but the short isn't. So one trade only on GPS.
Yeah, I think one of the things with GPS, with Gap, and when I was asked the question, I think it was a Canadian investor in the chat was asking, like, what do I think about Gap? Like, I don't own Gap, and I was kind of, let's see what happens with Nordstrom, because it was just another chart that had a bit of a downward trend going into earnings. I know they're not the same thing, but you do have, you're putting this print in an interesting context, because you're basically forming the wedge down here with your support at that 26, maybe just a little bit above that. I even call it like 26.5 that it's putting in some support. And then if you do just follow the line, you're probably going to run into resistance looking at like 29, maybe 30, depending on how quickly we get there. That's your 50 period. So as strong as the numbers look, it just feels like it might be capped based on the trend. Although we've seen outsized moves in retail when it's either a good or a disappointment. Disappointment, Nordstrom's. The good, you'll see Macy's and Gap now putting in a good print as well. I'm with Arun here. I mean, I didn't see anything off of that. I don't think this happened. I think it was just an overnight, one of those dump prints. Really, it's holding this 28, and 28 stands out. That's the level I was looking at for Gap. And again, a lot of times when we're going through in the morning, the stock is sitting at 28.50, holding some of these levels, which looks a heck of a lot different than when it's not a ton of volume and only 10 cents away from that 28 level. So I'd need it to open up, test 28, show me that at bare minimum we can hold that, or hopefully that 27.50 that Arun mentioned before I can get into the long. But I want to be long in Gap today. Ideally, it would have been catching the bid if it fell 50 cents, 50, 60 pennies into 28. It feels like it might have to allow a break of that, and then maybe a retake of that 28 level at the open. We'll have plenty to look at the close. I already got Peloton. I'm looking Neuro for the breakdown. I have BABA short 260. Well, I'm not in BABA short, but if that breaks the 160 level, CRM breaks 267 to the downside, and support and Cassava Sciences, we got to be trading those ones today. So it's a pretty full slate as it is here, Brennan.
Let's add one more. Workday Incorporated, guys, set to open multi-month highs, 6-month highs, in fact. Their Q2 report also much better than expected, up 8%, in fact, here in the pre-market for W-Day subscription numbers, along with subscription revenue, both almost 20% increases year over year. So a nice look here for Workday as well.
All right, so one thing with our charts is that our servers come up at 6 a.m., so you don't see any info before 6, but I do have a secondary charting system off the screen here that shows some support around 256. So what I'm looking at is 256 for potential support. Clearly, it's nowhere near there, right? It's at 267, so it's almost $10 down. If we can get below 262, it does seem like that was the late session, 4 o'clock high or so. It was around 261.25-ish. So if we can get around 262, 261 and start to kind of slow down and set up, then I think putting up $5 and see if we can't break the high would be a shot that's worth taking, right? It's gone at the moment, but if it can come back down, and that's the only way this trade works out, it needs to come back down and slow down. If it comes down back down fast and takes out 256, I think then the shorts are on the table below 256 and back towards 250. But if it comes down and starts to slow down, I think you could actually try to catch the bounce off of that area that we kind of hesitated after the close yesterday, and that's worth a shot. And here comes SBRT, was just at 46 and now it's back at 43.5, still moving around.
Yeah, the thing about that workday chart is it reminds me of CRM, right? Where you had the lower high put in. It's very close to the same price as actually Salesforce, because Salesforce lower high was at a 271 print, and then essentially you got a 270 here on the wicks, and then you're looking at like a 265, sort of 266 here on the body, and you come in, you're immediately testing and breaking through that lower end of the range. There was a somewhat of a follow through to 275 when it came to CRM, and then they saw it reject that, come all the way back. So I kind of feel like it's not impossible that Workday could do the same thing on maybe it's again another impressive quarter, but if it might even be better, to be honest with you. But if it does make that break, I'll be looking for a rejection and a retracement, maybe the same way that we saw on Salesforce. The volume is way too thin for me to want the breakout. Look, the gap and then the run, I can't see it, not with the price action on Salesforce, even though that was pretty good for an initial long. I'm going to stay away from Workday, but then look to see if we can't have a repeat of Salesforce CRM. And just because I do have an order on CRM, we can kill two birds with one stone. This is sort of what I mean here. Salesforce, and I'll just zoom out so you can see it. This would have been that lower high that I was talking about, that 271 area. There's your top. You're running into running into those numbers on earnings, spikes up. They get the clean breakout, it rejects the top, comes all the way back. Now you're consolidating at those same levels where it broke. If it breaks this 267, I want to short it. You do have a cluster area here, 260, 250, all the way down to a 259 that I think is going to be obvious support. I own CRM. I would say this: if the short comes in and it does work, 67 down to that 62, holding that price through whatever comes out of the Fed or whatever market reaction happens. Now, holding that level by the end of the day, I think would be a pretty solid sign. I would hate to see this break in today's action, regardless, whether it's Fed or whether it's just momentum to the downside on CRM. That would kind of stink. It'd be fantastic if it held that high. I still believe like CRM was kind of on the way to marching, and it might have to consolidate. Like sometimes you just have to consolidate, but on the way marching up to that 285 top to test those highs. But today is it's Chairman Powell Day. So you might get that retracement. I'm looking for the short there, and I'll wait for it on Workday.
Before we go back to Brendan, I do want to say once I noticed the chat put it up once, and I actually pulled it up on my radar as well. CEMI took off from 270 to 330, 340 high now. It's coming back a little bit. 3 even seems to be a support. That was one I was watching just to see how it was going to trade around 3 even. For anyone who wants to trade the low value stocks, CEMI is moving around there for you. It's got 5.5 million shares since 6 a.m.
Yeah, that one on the list as well this morning. ChemBio, guys, a little bit of news out on that one. Let's touch on some of these Chinese stocks under pressure once again this morning, a couple times this week. We've had decent-sized gaps to the downside, 2.8% here for Alibaba. A couple of notes, really. They came out talking about internet service providers making recommendations to users as part of efforts to protect user data. So more strict user data regulations coming from Chinese regulators. In addition, they also said data tech-heavy companies may be banned entirely from U.S. IPOs.
Yeah, it's not even funny anymore. We talk about the joke of the joke, and it's not a joke, or there being a headline every single day, and it just seems like there is when it comes to some of these Chinese companies. And look, there was that rally in Alibaba that I candidly thought would last a week or two at least. I mean, I really thought when you made that capitulation bottom, that we would be able to get into that like at least 180 to 190, like somewhere into this range. I never even took you there. Now you have a couple of days into the downside. It's hard for me to ignore. Just like a pure momentum trade. Like you have this gap in either direction, right? And then you sort of look at what happened on that capitulation bottom day when it had that only a 152 print. I know I probably said 150, but we had a late day break getting you right up into that 162, and then you look sort of at what happened here, fail at 160, resistance 160 breakthrough. If 160 goes, I'm looking for a short. I think you look right away for like $1.50 in front of this 158 quarter. If that gets broken, you're probably at least testing this level around here, like that 155, and then you have a clean stop at 162 here, right? Like it's pretty binary. Like you can just sort of say, okay, give it to $2. Your first leg down is about $2. That's the 1-to-1, and then you can hold it for that 55. And keep in mind, like I'm saying, all of this, I'm with like Shakib, man. I'm with you. Like I believe Alibaba at these levels is a hold for the long term, but at the end of the day, like you got to play the price momentum in the trade. And if the trade sets up, I don't want to ignore the fact that it's a short just because I thought, and I wish I had like the 150, 155s. Anyone that got it down there, fantastic. But if you were sort of already buying, and you're looking at 160 to 162, if you were buying before that last flush happened. So I want that to work long term, but I just see a nice short setup through 160. So I'm going to go ahead and take it, risk a couple of bucks there, and then see if the momentum continues to the downside. That Peloton is now between 110 and 112, so back and forth. I've been in the money like 80, 90 cents and out of the money 80, 90 cents. If 110 breaks, first bids at that 108 level, and then from there we'll just hang on.
Yeah, Baba is working these 160s, and it looks like 160 wants to go. They want to take it out. So here's my issue with 160. I'm actually looking for a long on Baba. Not just yet, though. I actually want to see if they can break it down below 160 and then fail. I'm looking for a breakdown failure. I believe we're running into some support going back a few days, going back to the 19th, late session on the 19th, mid session on the 20th, and then we have the 23rd high in the morning was around 160-ish. And then we spent some volume as well in the later part of that same session, around 159 to 160. So getting below 160, is this the time for a bounce? This is down 3.5%. We were trading this at 166 yesterday. Here it is at 160 even, going into support. Given how volatile, it's crazy because it's volatile, but it's a different kind of volatility than, say, something like SBRT is, right? This kind of volatility allows you to actually think things through and make some money based on what you're seeing on the chart. SBRT is a completely different story. It's a completely different animal when it comes to looking at the chart. I don't even think the charts are going to help you on SBRT. It's more so the flow. You're playing momentum on that stock. But this one, you can work with charts and whatnot. So 160, I'm looking for potential support. It all depends on whether we can actually get that failed breakout. That's critical. If we get that, potential long here with the $2 stop on Baba right now.
Quick note on DoorDash here, down in the pre-market, guys, 2.3% in negative territory. There was a release that came out suggesting New York City has approved caps on commission for food delivery apps. So New York City approving that. Looks like aftermarket yesterday, a little bit of an announcement this morning there. So heads up on DoorDash, down on that news so far this morning. Marvell Technologies, another earnings name to talk about this morning as well. It all came down to the forecast with them. They said with the chip shortage, they could run into some negativity going forward, both in the current quarter and then the full year for MRVL, guys.
Yeah, a company I like, and we actually, so if you're watching the afternoon show, which I hope all of you are watching Power Hour, the comments when this one came out was, look, price to perfection. I didn't see very many ways that they were going to be able to pull out the breakout here, just because that's been the name of the game in some of the chip names, and it kind of followed through with that notion. I don't know that there's an overwhelming day trade with them, except for the fact that it's been pretty decently, at least since the breakout here at 47, which, the breakout was really at 50, guys, but bouncing off the 50 period the last time and breaking out 50, it's held this 50 period pretty well. So if it were to ever get an extended move down, and it doesn't feel like it's going to, it kind of bounced nicely off 60 here, but had it extended down, you would be looking for that bottom around that 58 and then 58 quarter. For now, 60 looks like the key level. Volume not there. I don't know if it's going to be the number one day trade for me, but if it gets as low as that 58, that's where I'd be looking to pick up a buy off Marvel. I think it just could be a place where it finds a bit of a bid. could be one of those situations too as well with the tech names where you kind of want to hold off until we're getting some talk from Jerome, from JP. Jerome. It just, I don't know, I always feel like it's like you're talking to like your bro and it's like Jerome Powell. But anyways, you might want to sit this one out until you see volume come in, until you see him start to talk. And I just want to get back to Neuro for a quick second here because it's on the move. I still like a 1275 break, right? It's still obviously a key level, sort of pointing out that support there. But you have to shift gears to note that, okay, 14, 20, lower high here at 14. Just these prints here, again, there were some dark pools going off. There were earlier prints reported late to the tape. So to the best of my knowledge, it was really just trading around a top of 25 to 30 at this particular time. So you are sort of breaking this level here and then getting back towards this like pre-8 o'clock high at 14 even. And those are some levels that are going to be actionable. Do I want to break down at 1275 when it has to travel $1 10 minutes into the open? No, that's a bit of a trap trade, right? So I actually go ahead and cancel my stop in this particular case. Now, it could always set up a little bit later. That's still a significant level, but there's no way that I want it under those conditions, like dropping like a rock in 10 minutes, breaking that level at the open. That's a bit too much momentum. There's going to be a lot of people maybe short covering that actually got this one up at the top. I don't like Neuro for a short at the top because it's one of those sort of day one plays. And just looking at what's happened to it here, I just feel like this could be one that if you allow it to break on Neuro, it does have these levels coming in. Like that 15 looks a heck of a lot better, 15 into 16 on Neuro. So I'll kind of allow this one to go here at 1420.
Yeah, Marvell is not much of a, for me, there's too much above. If you want to go for the short, what would you have to use? 64, 64 and a half? What's the downside? Maybe 61, depending on how it's trading. So it's kind of just trading in this weird little zone here that's not of interest to me because we spent a decent amount of time between 62 and 64 for the last 3 sessions. And now here we are trading underneath it. So you could argue the short, but at the same time, I don't know what the downside potential on this is. So we're just going to walk away from Marvell. Just a quick thing though, SPRT has bounced after breaking 40 and now it's back at 42 and change. I'm also going to put up the imbalance locator. NASDAQ imbalances come out soon. For now though, we do have an update from the New York, I guess, imbalances. Here, as of right now, we've got 378,000 shares on PLTR to the buy side and Snow, 320, damn you Snow. 320,000 shares on Snow to the sell side. Those are the two big ones. Then Baba's got a 250K imbalance as well to the sell side. Those are the 3 big ones at the moment on the New York side of things. And we'll see NASDAQ soon as I flip this over.
What did Snow ever do to you, man? That's a good artist.
Oh, you saw.
You don't like Informer? Everyone likes.
Oh, you're playing
Informer's a great joint. I mean, I don't know.
Well, yeah, he's got a great song, but we're not talking about the guy. We're talking about the stock that took us for a ride yesterday and took all my money. And I had to make money elsewhere.
That's not funny.
No, that's not fun at all. But Snow, yes, Snow, the singer, is a great, he's got some great songs out there. And I think he had a recent one, too. He came out and collaborated with someone.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Look, man, I'm old, so I don't know new music very well, but good for him if he's still kicking around doing
It was one song, though. It was one song he came back to do with someone else. Yeah. Brendan, what's up?
Support, guys. I have officially joined the very expensive short side party here, getting some locates here because we just broke back below VWAP from the pre-market on a couple of different time frames. So a little bit of a volume alert went off there on that last little break to the downside through 42, getting a little bit weak. Overall, I mean, there's really no significant catalyst here. It's highly shorted. Teeny tiny little float on SPRT as well.
And so that's why it might not be done. Now, like I've said this like 2 days in a row, like if you could just, every now and then I keep checking the price for the shorts just to let you guys know, like it gets ridiculous. And sometimes when it gets that peak is when there's a bit of a turn. When I sat down 11 cents a share to short, when it made this, I feel like it was when it had already made this break and I had covered like a chump here at 36 and then was right around this 40 level. You were already paying 5 times, or maybe it was at 50 break when you were paying 5 times the amount to short this thing. I could probably double check in a second here what we're paying a day trade, the war for locates. Maybe it's come down since that level, but who knows? It's obviously put in like a weird double up. From I guess 6 a.m. Up to that 55 top. That's the only significance. Price levels might not matter. On the way back down, this was a 34 clean break. That initial move that sort of triggered me out was back in here to this 37, and then you look at this cluster, that's like maybe like a 39. So 39 to 37 is probably your best bet if you're looking flush out, dip buy. Look, this thing isn't done on support. I'm going to allow it to open. I'm going to allow it to open up and be hunting for a bounce off of that level, maybe even that 34, guys. So for me, I'm in that Peloton already. With only 5 minutes to go, Peloton, it's about $1 in the money. I'm looking for about 2 for that first level, maybe like $1.75 to 2. And then that Neuro, which looks pretty fantastic there, off the rollover, off the high of the day. You know, it could be one of those like now 930 type plays where if it bounces off 1275 again. This is now 3 times it's tested the top and failed at 14. It'd be systems go now for me that I've seen it turn around. The sellers clearly are there between, I guess, the high 80s up to that 1420. So if it pops off 1275, bounces into that range here at 1375, what are you doing, Peloton? Where's my bid? Oh, not there yet. Only at 109.
Nice short on Peloton. That was impressive. 111.
I'm sitting in the one. You know what? I always do this in the pre-market. Where I look gift horses in the mouth. So I'm actually, you know what, I should, and this is kind of, it's not funny. It's just, you know, sort of saying like, what's going on, Peloton? Like, why am I not filled as it's coming down? Like, isn't that a nice bid? And instead of just sitting on the bid at the perfect price, I was like, no, I'll just get the heck out. Like, just get that first fill and we'll hit one of those whiz things because I got to get better at these, right? Like sometimes hit the bid, hit the offer, I should say, just get out of it. And I was able to get 108.59 there instead of sort of waiting, sitting on the bid at like 108.52, which is usually what I will do. So take a quick winner there. I still like the overall short between that 10 and 13 range. So it could pop, consolidate, and I would take some more shares in here. I never really got a second entry because it's pre-market, but that was Peloton. I want to play the 930 rollover, pop short on Neuro if I can. Berendo, you're looking at, is it semi or semi? How do we pronounce this thing?
I think the company's actually ChemBio. It's C-H-E-M-I.
I don't care.
Yeah, C-E-M-I. Still up here, but breaking to the downside. Some positive COVID-related news out for this one today. If you go to the daily chart, guys, 340 to 350 is a wall for this thing. It hasn't been above that area since the spring. So 340 is up here. We already tested it once and failed. I would love a lower high, so pop up here, give you a lower high versus that 340, but already looking quite weak. Coming up to $3 here for CEMI, guys.
All right, let's take a quick look at the imbalances first before we get to that. Actually, well, yeah.
I got to answer this question very quickly. Someone
yeah.
asked, what do I mean by hit the bid? I meant hit the offer, but this is what a trader means when they say that. I'll go quickly to Peloton here so you can see. These are all the bids stacking up here. These are all the offers. I mean, instead of sitting down here and waiting at 182.52, when it comes to that price, just see the offer trail down and then buy from the offer. So actively get liquidity from somebody else by removing, as opposed to waiting for someone to sell to me, which a lot of times when you're momentum trading isn't the best idea. Just got triggered into BABA at 160. Sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to make sure I answered that question. We do get people that are just starting out trading. We want to make sure we're catering to everybody here, and I don't want you guys to not understand what we're talking about. Oftentimes we use lingo that isn't firsthand to you guys.
Yeah, okay, so let's take a quick look at the imbalances. We're about to get them in about 30 seconds. We do have an early look at them. Right now, again, we need an update on this. This is not completely accurate. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take a look at, what's it called? SBRT for the moment. What's the game plan? Well, for this, I mean, you could argue that between 44 and 46, there's something there. So if it were to pop off the open, and this is what I wanted to see actually off the open, I wanted to see a pop into this area and see if we can actually slow down a little bit and then maybe work a short in there. If it takes off though, man, it's going to be halting to the upside off the open. And here we go. What do we have on the imbalances? We have SNDL to the sell side 100K and Archon to the sell side at 100K as well. So not a whole lot coming out of the NASDAQ imbalances at the moment. You see me in a position in HBQ as well. I'm getting destroyed on the spread right now because the spread is about 20 cents. I've got the short on HBQ just below 50, 27.50 on HBQ. The stop is going to be just above 28.20 something and change. I'm just trying to work that bottom there. It's a low risk trade. Why not take a shot underneath? You go back to the 19th and we're working underneath 27.50. So I just went ahead and took a shot there. It's about 70 cents or so in risk. Downside target, none. So we're just going to let it go and see how far we can get with HBQ. If it bounces back off the open, hey, right now it is out, 19 cents on the spread. So just be careful. Sometimes the spreads go crazy on these stocks, especially with the open. And damn, I'm looking at Peloton going, wow, Neil, nice call on that 111. Because I was looking for the 110 break, potentially to 113, and he was looking for the exact same short within that same range, and he caught that 111 short, now $3 in the money.
It's a tricky short because you're shorting into an area. So like you kind of, it's weird because like you take some shares when it gets into your range or travels into it and consolidates. but then you're sort of stuck as it goes to the top end. If it doesn't break or doesn't go high enough, you never get more of it on the rollover, which could be the case today. TKAT, bit of a miss here, swing and a miss. 30 seconds to go. This already broke out through 12. I should show you the higher time frames so you can see why that's actually a breakout. Yeah, I mean, how many days in a row is this? So it has broken out through this $12 range, support in the afternoon. It was a top a couple of days ago that it would have been Wednesday, I guess it would be. And you do have a high here, but every single time, like, you've managed to take out and make new fresh highs here. I'd watch for 13.25. I'm currently sitting bid just in case it snaps back into 12, where you can take a 12 long, maybe stop it out in that 11.50 range. So TKT, whoops, the bell already rang. Oh my goodness, I'm dropping the countdown and Randy's on the bell. Apologies, guys.
All right. Okay, we get our hearing back. And there goes SPRT at 36 even. Wow. SPRT completely gone to the downside. Let's take a quick look at the level 2 on this because it's not even moving. Given how fast, 34 even, you see it. Offers at 35 now coming in, but the pressure is to the sell side. Right off the open, we fell from 38 even all the way back down to 34 and change. 33 just broke. It's going to halt to the downside. Yeah, it's going to halt to the downside. And both of us are trying to scramble and get some orders in there so we can participate off the open because we do have the ability to do that.
I don't want the short on the halt. I don't want it.
I don't think we're going to get it. No, nope, there it goes. There, you see,
I don't want it.
Yeah,
I was gonna offer, then I was like, wait a minute, I don't want that short. We're talking about that 34. This is where the breakout was this morning, and it halts right below that price, and then you might have a support on support. Oh goodness, how many times am I gonna say that at that 30 level? So if it opens up, this could be one like jailbreak and not done, and then you watch for that 30 bottom, guys. And 28 is also a bit of a level, so I'm gonna back off, not take the short halt there. Peloton, Wowzers, I don't know, whatever, man. I'll think of something better to say there. Peloton breaks continuously to the downside, so I guess that negative report. Now we're $4 in the money, $5. I gotta look at this 105. If we stall out at 105, this could be a place to put in a bit of a trail. Alibaba was the only other one that we got here to the short side. That was a bit of a crazy one on Alibaba. Because, like, look at this wick. This was real. Like, somebody bought this thing up to 161, but I was watching support just like Arun was unable to get more shares when it came back down. My bid's already in front of 158.50, so we're locked and loaded and ready to go there. And then Neuro, another one here. Neuro breaking at 12.75. Now, I'd canceled my offer my stop to go short when it was testing this level, thinking it would then turn into a 9.30 rollover trade. Maybe it's just a short from here, that 12.75.
All right, couple of trades. Actually, before we get to that, my trades, we're going to quickly look at SPRT. One of the features that we have in our system is the ability to see what the theoretical auction price is going to be off the open, right? It's one of the features that we have. We get the information actually from the exchange that kind of predicts based on the on-open tags that are on the orders where this stock is going to open when it actually comes out of the halt. Right now, the theoretical auction price is showing 28.47. It closed at 33.75. It's looking at 28.47 right now with 200,000 shares with the on-open tag. So clearly we're going to see a gap down off of this halt here. Yeah, I'd say. And this may close. This may come back a little bit. But for now, it is going to be at least $4 below where it actually last traded. A couple trades that I've got here. DLTR, we caught that short on DLTR just in front of 93. Remember, 95 and change was a stop. That's out 70 cents or so. And the other trade was... HPQ, damn, HPQ ran hard off the open. Okay, HPQ was the trade I was looking for right off the open off that 27.50 and change area, and I was going to use 28 and 25. Yeah, it just ran right off the open. They held that support line quite aggressively, so I'm going to have to walk away from HPQ because I'm not sure how much I can read more into this given how it's been trading, because that was meant to be a support break through 27.50, and they did not take it at all.
Yeah, I mean, CRM was one I was going to watch. Obviously, it didn't trigger in. CRM, oh, wait, yeah, and now it does. I was about to sort of say it didn't break that 267, and then the second I mention it, it's breaking through that low. This is one that, again, you have to go to the higher time frame because it's going to look... No, you got to go to the 15 here. It's going to look a little bit better. This is a 15-minute chart. This is why we like it. Sometimes the trades are not on the 1-minute chart, and if you trade off the 1-minute chart, you won't be able to hold on to it. So this is a 267 breakdown trade. That's why I have 266.82. You're giving it all the way back into this 270 area to get a look all the way down at this 262 to the bottom. Now, obviously, you could have some crazy movement in the overall market with the Fed speak, but this is a straight look at them not immediately loving the follow through on CRM's print there, guys. So watch out there. And Neuro, trying to retake that 13 level, so the 75 break not working. We're close to reopen on support.com. We'll be all over that one when it does open up. But don't force trades in support, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with sitting out of a stock that you're not comfortable trading in. We like trading off those halts because there's some good actionable trades there. Peloton, I'm not at the point yet where I'm going to be trailing this one. I want us breaking this 105. If we this is like if you go back a couple of days or early in the week on Monday, 105 was the bottom on Peloton. Once it's broken through this 105 level and we're trading down around that low, I'll probably put a trail in. Just want to let it ride. Now $6 in the money here on Peloton. I never was able to add to the position, unfortunately, but so far so good.
Yeah, a couple positions. I want to talk about that I never got around to actually trading. DKS, I'm actually trying to see if we can't get an extension off this. I'm actually going long right off the support level. I'm not even waiting for any confirmation on this. The risk on this is about $2.50. See if we can actually get a bounce off this 34, 33 even level, and 31.50 and change is going to be your stop. So we are kind of flat at the moment. With minus the spread, we are relatively flat. We're trading around that 34 mark right now. I'm long at 134.23 is my long. And
that's
Brendan. We'll go to Brendan.
Randy's here today. Big Lots, guys. Another earnings name reported in the pre-market, down big time. But volume alert there at 49 as we're trying to get back to the upside. Huge volume came in at the open for BIG.
All right, let's take a quick look at the market, the broad market, the futures contracts. Hey, right off that 74, back to where towards 80. At this point, you're out of time. I'm out of time. I'm not going to take any risk on this market, given how it's been trading. I was hoping to get this kind of a setup around 920, 925 going into the open, and then we get a bounce right off the open and get far away from it so I can actually take some profit ahead of 10 o'clock. At this point, though, we kind of have to wait. We're kind of stuck waiting for 10 o'clock to come around and see if we can actually get a move off of that. And here goes Peloton. I am super impressed by this short. Peloton now going to 105. It's still going to the downside.
Please
there goes
don't think
105.
this, man. Everyone that's watching the show all week, you know that, like, actually one of the things that Arun's helped me with, and one of my weaknesses, because I trade a lot of those small caps, is holding on to trades. We did pretty well with Sava yesterday, and that was a direct result of that afternoon where I got stopped out really too tight on a Sava trade where I had the top, and Arun shorted like dollars later and then held for like a $20 million winner. So it was like $20 bucks?
$22.
$22. I got it wrong yesterday, $22 winner. So I wanted to make sure I'm doing that with Peloton and giving us room. It's now broken that 105, so I'm going to look to trail it. But wow, Neuro came in and did that 930 pop here. Holds the lower high. I was able to get some there at 22. Look, after getting some of that 75 break and then waiting for the 930 pop, I got to cover some in this 950 to 960 range. If it makes another leg down, I'm looking at those quarters, then I'm looking at those 12 evens. Remember, Neuro was the one I said, no matter what, 50s out, quarters out, evens out, I'll be flat if this thing gets to 12. I'm not looking for a 12 break on Neuro. I still think it has a couple of days of run in it, even though I like the short. Brendo?
Not seeing any exciting headlines anyways on Palantir, guys. The usual. Palantir just popping up on a volume scanner and alert here through the high from yesterday, I guess it was over there. 25.5, so up 2% for PLTR.
All right, I'm going to take a quick look at NVAX. NVAX came up on my radar here to the downside as it broke 227. It's kind of flirting around with that at the moment. It's trading 226. Here's a spread on NVAX, 227.65 on the bid, 228.50 on the offer. So a dollar spread on NVAX. It's done. Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. So what I'm looking for, 227, but given how the spread is moving around, clearly there's not a whole lot of trades that are being done. So I actually want to see some more trades being done below 227, but I am looking for the potential short. Remember, we went short yesterday around 228 and it bounced right back as soon as we got in. Clearly, that's the kind of stock this is, so give it more time to actually get down below 227 and set up, because right now it's back at 228.75. The spread is 75 cents. We're still working and waiting, and here we go with DKS bouncing right off that 134.
Nice.
Here we are, $1.30 in the money. Again, the target for DKS here is for that high to get taken out, right? 136.50 and change. That's, if we can get above there, I can actually move the stop in and protect some of this. But for now, we are going to have to leave it as is. And we're still waiting for SBRT to open.
It looks like a 10-minute halt. It can be 5 or 10 minutes. Obviously, once the 5-minute mark passed and it is a volatility halt, we can confirm that. You know it's going to be 10 minutes. We'll power it up. I can miss out on 12 even on TKAT and then wait for it to come back in. Sometimes when volume comes in at 9:30, you wait around for it at the open. It bounces off 12. I was able to catch some shares. I got on the way down here at 12.15. Didn't add on the way up because it was kind of a quick move. Able to quickly get some out in front of 75. You did see it fail at 13 once before. That's where I'll take some out. Gonna hold on to the rest. I got to talk about both ends of this too, because Alibaba there, which looked like it was sailing. Look, man, am I going to be happy in general that Alibaba is going up? I would say yes, but still looking at that short. I'm giving it to 162, and I actually have first bid at 158.50. If that were to break, I'm looking at that 155. So got to give that a little bit more room. Of course, probably off the higher time frame, it makes a little bit more sense. We're still flushing on Neuro here, guys. So this one is one of those plain dropping money, but again, the reason why I want to be all flat at 12, stalling out, as much as it jammed up, we're able to get those shorts there at 13.22. I really feel like this is going to hold that 12 level, that 12 even level. And yeah, Peloton, it's now comfortably in that zone. Whoops. If I can actually even type Peloton in there. Peloton being on the NASDAQ, not the New York. Now bouncing off those pre-market lows. This is where I'm going to throw that stop. I'm going to throw a trail in on this bad boy at that 105 like I said I would. I still want to see if this can break that low and head down to 100. It just bounced off of 102. Either way, this won't be any worse than about like a $5.50 winner.
We should be opening on SBRT in about 10 seconds. Brandon, what's up?
SBET, guys, another little one that was active here in the pre-market, higher in the pre-market, still up 12%. Just broke the support level there at 625 on a huge volume spike for SBET.
SBRT opened back at 32 and something.
So it helped. It helped.
Yeah, so you know what that means. We got to get some, oh no, 33 and change. It is coming back up aggressive. We are looking to potentially get some shorts here in front of 33 and see if we can't actually ride this train back to the downside before it halts again. Man, this is so hard to get.
I'm not sure it's going to halt again, to be honest with you. If it holds 30, I'd almost be thinking about, like, if it bounces here, no halt down, holds 30, I'd almost be thinking about 34
Man,
long.
I keep putting offers. I'm not getting anything here. The pressure is to the sell side, guys. Sorry, we're not talking a whole lot because we are really reading into what's happening on the screen. And every time I put an offer, I keep missing.
I don't know, man. Like, I just keep seeing it hold this level from the morning. This is like 30.26. And the longer it holds 30.26, the more likely I think it has a chance at a jailbreak long. This would be the halt price is 33.68 to the downside. This top is 33.80, so I'm going to adjust my stop. I don't even care about the 34. I actually want my stop to be right at that level. So I'm going to go stop jailbreak long 33.80. As long as we haven't broken 30 and halted down, I'm going long 33.80.
Yeah, I'm still waiting at this point. I was chasing it down a little bit, but now I'm like, nope. Oh, we've gotten as close to 30 as possible. That kind of backs me off a little bit. See if we can't get up to like 33. You said 33.80? That's interesting because that's kind of the area that I'm actually looking at as well. 33-ish, 34, going into 34. The risk on this will be tight. It does look like it's catching a bit at the moment. So we'll wait to see if this is going to kind of slow down a little bit. Let me pull up the level 2 so you guys can see what we're seeing here instead of just my face looking up. Here we go as we approach 33 and change. It's all a matter of how are we going to slow down around 34? Because if we start slowing down here, I think the risk is tight. You can go for the short. If we go right through it, then it's a problem. Okay, we're going right through 34. No, we're not going right through 34. Okay, all right, that's enough for me.
Not wrong until like this. The thing with this trade is you're probably not wrong unless it breaks that 30 level. That's the tricky part about it, right? Like it could halt to the upside. If it continues that move, it could stall out at 38 even. Got to put an offer in front of 38 even no matter what here, guys. So I'm going to definitely park something just to take profit at 38 even, in front of 38 even, and then have a stop at that 30 level. So don't want this halting to the downside on me. Brenda, what's up, bud?
Crazy action so far, guys. Bill.com reported earnings aftermarket yesterday. Huge move for this thing. Just took back 250 on monster volume there, all-time highs for BILL.
Yeah, it's not going to work. This thing is still got some strength to it, so we may have to walk away from this short for now.
This should be screaming to 37 at this point. Like I'm actually a bit surprised. Like it's $2 in the money, and I'm wondering why there's. I can show you guys level 2, and I'm wondering why there's just sellers jamming here at the mid 60s. I mean, I'm talking. There's all kinds of deep prints there, guys. At that 30, and it was randomly at 36.60, and I'm trying to figure out. Oh my God, I'm blind. Give me a break. It was actually, when it turned off of 40, that was the low. It was actually that 37 area that was the low. So I should be trimming if I can in this range here, in that 36 range, 100%. I can't believe I didn't even see that. Sometimes you don't have obvious levels to work off of for some of these guys, so you have to go with you just have to go with the best you can do. It actually looks like, again, this is about 50 cents below this dip here, that 37, but it was also a top. This is where I got wicked out, guys. So I actually got a trailing stop out here.
It's going to halt to the upside.
It's going to be an upside halt.
Yeah.
I'm holding my long, but I took some of this out in front of this upside halt, basically because of this level right here. And then see if we can bounce 40s, guys. This is crazy action on SPRT, but you're not getting me out of the long that easy.
Yeah, it was very close to halting and couldn't get it done. So here we are back again, attempting to halt here at 57.
Usually a bullish sign.
Oh, I got some shares. I got some shares going into a halt.
Long?
I got some shares going into a halt there. Okay, okay. Can we halt? Can we halt? I got 57s, which is the bid at the moment. There it goes. Boom. All right. So, yes, if this is the most excited you've seen me, that's because I don't trade like this normally because there's nothing else happening and I can't put up risk anywhere else. So here I am looking at the level 2 and trading and trying to use all those skills that I've developed over the years, trading off the time and sales in the level 2. And yeah, this is a slightly different style of trading, clearly. So yeah, I'm reacting slightly different because the game is different now. I can't just sit back and take risks. There's not a whole lot of trades. I've got 2 trades going.
Isn't it fun though?
I can't do this all the time, man. This is just one time because I paid. And the big thing is, because I paid for shorts, I refuse to lose money on this stock and not actually trade it. I refuse to have paid for the shares and not have taken any trades. So I'm going to try to make some money, at least cover the cost of getting those damn shares. DLTR is the one short that I've got around 93. That's working. And we've got DKS coming back in a little bit. Into 34s. The stop is still 31.50. Okay, we've got Valeria at the screen. What's up, Valeria?
Whoa.
Chinese stock SGOC is up around 24%, guys. Could you take a look at SGOC for us?
So I'm going to pause. If there was a crazy feedback, even I heard that one, man. So that was pretty intense. SGOC, or as I like to call it, SJOC, because Dominic, thank you for the super chat, man. I mean, Valeria's all over it just now, but it's going absolutely nuts. As a matter of fact, it was doing so much volume. And of course, when I look at too many halt stocks, my data is having all kinds of trouble loading up here. But I can show you the level 2. SJOC is going absolutely bonkers. To add it to my list right now for trades, I can tell you right, there's almost no way. Long TKT, which I didn't even get to, still have Spirit support, holding that long into the halt, although taking a $3 winner on some of it. And my charts are just crashing on me, guys. So you probably have to cover in a second here. I still have CRM, Semi, and BOBA to the short side. I'm kind of loaded up here. It's hard for me to look at SJOC as a potential halt style trade and want to jump into it. But that is another crazy mover. I would say this, guys, just to slow down here for a quick little second. Everything's working in the money for me, so I could move on to other trades. You do not have to do it this way. Like, you can trade 1 or 2. Like, if you're looking at support, you can only trade support. If you're looking at TKAT, you can only trade TKAT. Some of these are like CRM and BABA, where it's like get in, set a $2 stop, take $5, or like Peloton that trailed out at 105 there. Get in, have your stop set. Put my trail when it broke that 103, when it broke that 105 to the downside. I might have given something up here, but this is me trying to get better at holding some trades. And maybe Peloton goes to 100. It's entirely possible, but I'm trying to make these work for me the best that I can. So we're working at getting better at that. I know Rune's much better at holding on to some of these longer winners here, but I'm definitely learning a bit of that here. And I'm gonna hit this one because I should have hit some of these keys. We'll do this one. Why not? It's been a good morning so far. We'll wait for SPRT to open back up. We'll see if we can't get that SGOC chart to work. Brendo, what's up, bud?
Haven't heard from this one in quite some time, guys. Gevo, G-E-V-O, just ripping here as well on volume, coming up to some significant levels, to say the least. But nice looking chart for Gevo, guys. Not seeing anything significant for them, though.
Gevo, okay, CRM, I've joined Neil on CRM to the short side below 267. I think we're both looking at 267. And initially when it got down there and it bounced all the way to 269 and it came right back down, I think that was a trade there, right? So we've got two shorts, 2 longs, DKS on the long side, relatively flat. DLTR is actually moving well at 75 cents in the money right now, going back towards 92 even. We're short in front of 93, 95.50 and stop. So once we get it below 92, I can actually move the trailing stop on this and protect some of those gains. And DKS relatively flat. CRM is breaking down finally. And what was the other one? SPRT, that's right. I caught You know what? It doesn't happen that often, but SPRT, I caught this as it was going into a halt. I actually have the bid price at the moment, which is 36.57, and 37.90 is the theoretical auction price. So coming out of the halt, we should be opening around 37.90. But again, this is too early, right? We have to wait for, well, this number will update as more orders come in with that tag, with the on open tag. So that will change the game. If there's more sellers that come in, you're going to see this price come back further and further down, closer to our entry price. But it does look like at the moment we have a $1.30 winner. Until it's locked in, it's not really locked in.
It's all theoretical.
Yeah, it's all theoretical.
Theoretical auction price. Now, for me, because, and again, I was just sort of noting where this turned around below that 37 area. So I took some off, like right here. That means there's I'm not taking anything on the market on open print. If I had not taken profit here on that jailbreak long, then I 100% would certainly have been, taking some out wherever it opens up. It opens up basically flat.
37, 34.
I'm looking, 40 is obviously a level here.
38's a level.
If it busts 40, well, 38's a level too. If it breaks this 38 and 40 area, I'm actually willing to hold this one, even if it tries to bounce to the downside. And if it breaks 38.40 and then halts to the upside, at that particular point, I would take a reopen print if it halts another time into the upside. I'm not looking that gift horse in the mouth, guys.
There goes 38. Okay, at this point, you know what? If this is the kind of move we're going to get out of this, we're letting this go. I'm going to put up 50 cents in risk on this, say we're holding this and see if we can get multiple halts to the upside and just ride the halt train all the way back up. If this is the kind of move we're going to get, I'm going to make my money back for paying for those shorts, because I refuse to pay for shorts, and I finally pay for shorts. I'm going to make some money on the long if I can't make money on the short. So hey, let's ride this train all the way back up through 40. We know 44 is going to be a problem, right? We talked about SPRT. At 44 through 46, that was a problem earlier today. So if we can actually, what I would prefer actually on SPRT is for us to halt at 44 and then gap open right above 46 and keep it going. Because right now, it tried. 42.93 is going to be the trigger price on the halt. If we can actually start working the offer at 42.93, we can actually halt 42.94 now. And there we go. This is it.
No, it resisted twice. If it resists a halt 3 times, I'm going to cover it where it lies.
All right, back to 40.
I should have done it there.
No, I'm going to give it a chance. I'll give it a chance, see if they can actually go back down. Oh, maybe I shouldn't. Okay, damn, okay. We got greedy, eh?
Honestly, that's one of those, I'm sitting there saying, I'll let it do it a third time, and instead, it has a chance to halt to the downside. If it halts down, I'd try to get filled in that 15 seconds and maybe cover the trade there, but that was probably an opportunity. I know it got a little bit greedy on that one. It is what it is. This is one of those, it wants to halt to the downside here. I'll see if I can't cover. I just got out there. That is greed personified. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You can see that the second room was like it's resisted the halt band once. You have a top here at 43 as well. 100% should not have allowed it to happen a third time. I even said if it does it a third time, nah, man. If your gut is telling you, just take the winner. How many times have you heard me say on these runners, you never go broke taking profit? If I had my slap myself in the face nonsense, I'll flush myself down the toilet for that one. This is going to be a winning trade. That's sloppy nonsense. I should have been out there at 42.5. You could have got 42.5. Easy, no problem. And that would have been a nice little, whatever, it is what it is. It's still gonna be a winning trade. That would have been a $9 winner for me. Instead, it's coming back down to the original halt price. Another one right at 36 is where I'm gonna get the rest of that trade out. Whatever. It's gonna open up in 5 minutes. There's gonna be more action on this stock. I can almost guarantee it. But there was a question, and I wanna answer this because there's other things that are moving in the market. I was asked, why would I short at 13.22 on Neuro? It's not about the price, it's about the setup. You guys have ever seen me on these small caps, and it's about that 930 pop trade, right? So any stock that gaps up, so you have a gap up, break, make a clear defined high when retail pops in, that's 1420, lower high. If I'm not taking the consolidation, this was too extreme, lower high. If I'm not taking the consolidation, again, I was waiting this one out. At 930 when it buys in, if it fails to press through the recent high, didn't even get close to 1390, I want the rollover. So once it stalls at 1350, I'm literally getting any short that I can. It happened to be the 22s, happened to be some 13s. I've been getting out in front of 12 because I'm going to cover this thing and be flat at 12 even, just like I said I would. Brendo, what's up?
Video guys, coming back to the downside, if you missed it, aftermarket yesterday, the EU officially launching an investigation into their $54 billion attempted takeover of ARM. Was watching this off the open. It did get up to 225, but stalling out significantly, coming back to basically where we were in the pre-market for NVIDIA.
Let's go back to kind of SPRT and recap. Well, we were greedy and we were waiting for 44 to halt. We were actually, like, both of us were waiting for 42.93 to halt, and it never did. And then we ended up getting out. I ended up getting out, I think I made like 50 cents or something on that, not a whole lot. Yeah, 36.57 was the entry. I got 37.08 on the exit before we halted to the downside. And then I just jumped on the halt to the downside. I've got the short, actually.
Short, nice.
I got the short at the halt price at 36.36. Right now, theoretically, we should be opening at 36 even. That's going to be a problem because that could easily bounce right back up. Because remember, that was the area that we were kind of working with. Neil was working with. I was working with 36 and change. I was initially short, and then I got out around that price. If we can actually open below 36, I think we have a chance to keep on going down. But if we actually open at 36, as it says right now, we're 3 minutes, we're about 2 minutes. If it's a 5-minute halt now, right? After the first one, it's been like 5 minutes.
It should be 5 minutes.
Yeah, so if we can get back underneath 36, then we can actually get going to the downside. But, you know, we'll see how this opens. And I'll play it tight because it's quite volatile. But for now, let's go back to the positions that we do have. CRM to the downside, we still have the 267 short working that to the downside. Both of us have that short. We're still waiting on this one. DLTR is kind of not willing to take those 92s, but I'm not ready to give up on 92 just yet. So we're going to wait for this and give it a chance to actually take 92s. And DKS is actually falling off a little bit. So this one I might just walk away from because do I need to put up the risk on this trade because it doesn't want to get above 134. It's struggling below 134. There should be some support here. I'll give it a little bit more time, see if it can't develop some more support buying here. But if we can't, I'm going to have to walk away with a small hit on DKS at the moment. Let's take a quick look at the futures.
Why did you call what DKS? What's the name of the company again? What are they called?
You tell me. You tell me. What is it? I don't know. I can't remember. But
okay, it didn't work. I tried.
Again,
That had a very, very low probability of tricking him. I mean, Maroon's too smart for that one, but I tried.
So 74, well, that's the area that we're working with. See if we can actually get some support here. But again, the trade's gone on the futures just because, not because the trade's actually gone, but it's because the time, I've run out of time with 10 o'clock happening right now. We need to start protecting some of these gains because DLTR and CRM are in the money. So with SPRT about to open soon, and it seems like the open's not going to be that far away from where we actually closed, so that's going to be disappointing. Brendan, what's up?
Someone was asking about BBIG. Guys, I apologize, I didn't see who it was, but BBIG, this is going to be just a simple sympathy play off of what's happening with SPRT. This thing is even more or higher short interest, 41.8%. on the short side for BBIG. So we did talk about it briefly there in the pre-market if you joined us a little bit late. But this is just going to be another one of those highly shorted ones, guys.
So that stinks. I should have probably been all over the fact. I didn't realize it was that big a short interest. I might have been looking for a breakout long on that stock. We just got it just opened back up on support, so I have to go over there. I was about to talk about semi, which is making a bit of a move as well, but support when that baby opens up, it's going to be an actionable trade. I mean, again, you have two halt prices to work with here. There was the breakout, that 33.80, and then you got that 30 bottom. I'm sticking with the 30 bottom. Like, I kind of feel like if it halts down, I want to be buying in front of that 30 low and try and rinse and repeat the action we were able to do before and just hopefully not look that gift horse in the mouth and waste the profits away. I don't want to be trading this in the middle. I kind of feel like this could get really choppy and really dirty, and we've already done decently well on this stock. I feel like it could have obviously been better, but I want to wait for the levels that I really like. I feel like you get chopped up in the middle here.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. It opened right at 36. As soon as not right at 36, but it opened very close to 36. 36, I think it was like 36 something. I can't remember. I can't actually see it right now. But it was just in front of 36, and I was just like, man, this sucks. Because if we actually gap below that, this is exactly what happened around 44, right? We were looking for a gap at 44 and then open above 46. That allows the trade to work. The fact that it actually came back down to 36 and sat there at the level that was a problem earlier, I was hoping for a gap down. We're not getting it. You see, I walked away with like a 23-cent winner on that. I caught the spread, and it's not that hard to catch a spread on a stock that's doing this. So walked away from this. I don't think there's a whole lot to do. Unless we can break 34 to the downside or 46 to the upside, I don't see myself getting involved just yet. If we halt at 44, or if it looks like we're gonna halt at 44, I would love to take that shot and see if we can actually get the gap open above 46. And as I'm talking, there goes CRM, Neil. Both of us are in the money on this one. And where's your target on CRM? Because right now I'm not putting down.
I feel bad. Like I'm going to get to semi at some point. Don't get me. I'll talk about that one because I'm short that one off the 340 high as well. There's just a lot going on here. Look, CRM, I shorted the bottom and we're giving it to 270 because you got to look at it from this standpoint, right? You got to look at this was good earnings, breakout trade, reject 275. Remember that on the daily chart, you were trying to get through this lower high and then it rejected that lower high. This is to me just a breakdown and I feel like it should be getting to this 260, 250 range, all the way down to 259. I think that puts you maybe an out here on a 264, maybe take a little bit there. That's kind of like halfway into that
We
move.
do have to worry about Powell too.
Yeah, and then that's the other side of the coin, right? Like at any point, Jerome could just blow up every single one of your momentum trades, especially on a tech name like this. Maybe not so much Alibaba. I think that might be okay. And as a matter of fact, speaking of Alibaba, let's keep going here. And okay, so I don't want to celebrate this too much, but you got to separate your book from your trades. It's just you can't trade your own book, right? So like that short on the 160 break in Baba, didn't even retest 161. If I wasn't trading so many names, is Alibaba an ad when it rejects this twice? 100% it is. But I mean, everything else that's going on here, and I have enough positions as it is. I did not add. I took some out at 158.50 just there. I do want to show you the 15-minute chart. Once we break through this is that 150 to 158 area where I just took some profit. I want to see it trade down into 155. Next bid will be in front of 155 on Baba. So far, so good. Everything seems to be working. Let's go to Brennan. It's already 10 o'clock. What's happening now?
Yeah, guys, the first comments look like they're coming out here from Fed Chair Powell, so just be careful with the overall futures. Everything I see is pretty positive for the most part. So again, that press conference underway. The first comments just coming out here from Fed Chair Powell. So heads up, we are positive still on the overall market. 0.35 for the S&P currently, about the same there for the Dow and the NASDAQ. The Russell leading 0.9, almost full percent for small caps to the upside. A couple of things quickly to have a look at. Peloton starting to base out here a little bit. If it doesn't take back that 105 area, we could see lower prices, though. Tons of volume still at the open there for Peloton. The other one, Gap, I wanted to mention, all the way back there, all the way back for GPS. Guys, back to you.
Oh boy, look at the futures. It liked it what was being said for a second there.
What did he open with?
What's that?
What did he open with? That just
I have no clue, but it went all the way up to 84 and change, which would have been the high from like 2 o'clock this morning and yesterday's late session bounce high. So the market's reacting. You can see the reaction in the charts, right? Let's zoom this in. That's the wide look. That's the close look right now on the chart. It is all over the place. Now back to 84. This is the kind of volatility you get. We are in the money. I am in the money on all three of my trades at the moment. CRM came back quite a bit. Damn. Okay. DLTR on the short side and DKS on the buy side are both in the money. We're going to leave them be, but I think the problem here is going to be CRM because it is bouncing a little bit too aggressively off this 266. And I'm just going to figure out how I actually want to trade this because I don't know if I actually want to give it more time to work. And the answer is no, we're going to give it more time to work. 230, 270 is the stop on this. We're going to let it go. And SPRT, man, okay, well, again, 34, we get underneath it. I'll start trading this again. 46, we get above it, I'll start trading this again. But anywhere in between is just kind of sideways action. Can't really do a whole lot with that, but maybe the futures. Oh, there goes the futures. 90, 41, 44, 90, 44, 92. Market's taking off to the upside. You see the futures. 4,500 is on deck now. At this point, you got to look at 4,500 and see what we're going to do as we take out the top. I'm not going to initially jump in, but I want to see how much trading gets done, right? My concern always with these big round numbers is what's the count of stops? What's the amount of stops? And if we're just going to take stops out and come back in, I want no part of it. But if we're going to actually get there and trade, yeah, let's go with that.
There's looking a gift horse in the mouth, and there's like putting your head right in the mouth. I just did that whole speech about how like I'm getting, no matter 3 times, I'm getting flat in front of 12 even on Neuro. Well, okay, like I got this last fill at 1209. And I still had 10% of the position on, and I was sitting here bidding again at that same level. Look what happens. double bottom at 12.17. This is what happens. This is what happens when you trade too many stocks, right? So you have a smaller position left. Once it's down to that size, I cancel my stop order. So I'm not even sitting with a stop order because I feel like, whatever, at this point I can just manage it. And then this happens while I'm looking at other things, right? So you're going to end up giving a bunch back. And, at the end of the day, it shouldn't matter whether you're having a good day, whether you're up. All that crap is irrelevant. This is absolutely ridiculous and stupid that I actually made this mistake, because I should have just simply, if I wanted that last fill, put a stop in at 12.50. Like, just trail the stupid thing. I wanted to be flat at 12 anyways. I tried to actually cover this on the halt out, which, believe it or not, doesn't make sense at this particular point. Like, getting a fill here at 14.21 when it hasn't even broke, like, that's actually the high. Like, I would have been trying to get out the high with a small position on. Makes absolutely no sense. At this point, you just want to sit back, take a breath, think about the 5 minutes that you have to open this trade up, guys, where it still has some levels that it has to breach. Because if it opens up and rejects 15, I'm starting to think about this trade. Like, I probably don't want to hold it all the way to 15. But I'll probably cover the trade if it breaks out past here, 14.30 on the open. If it breaks this, I'll be looking for a 15 level to short anyways. If it actually opens and immediately rejects this level here, then anything from 50 to 14.12 actually looks pretty good for a short setup. So I can go ahead and put that on. So we have a couple of minutes until this one opens back up, and then we'll look for that trade. But there was no excuse not to have a 12.50 stop. It doesn't matter how many shares you have left. It doesn't matter how much you made in the morning. It doesn't matter how much you're up on the day in general. You got to follow your rules. Principle is priceless, and that's all that matters when it comes to decision making. Evaluate your decision, not your P&L. That was a bad one not to have a trailing stop. And CRM, maybe that was a gift horse in the mouth, but I can't be thinking about like a $1 winner if I'm risking, at the end of the day, $3 on the trade. I'm risking $3 because I want to make $5 or like $4, $5, $6 on that trade. It pops in here. For now, it's a bit of a nothing burger. Brendo?
Right, Powell's still talking here, guys. Latest comments. He's basically saying the pace of which they start to taper and the timing of the taper is not a direct reflection of any future interest rate hikes that could come at the same time. So pretty much all these comments still coming out as we speak here. To the upside, pretty positive so far, guys.
Yeah, as he's talking, and I'm getting a read or a feel for how the market's going to move. I'm starting to pare down positions. DLTR, that short is out flat now. I think we made like 3 or 4 cents on this. We're walking away from that short. I was looking for 92 to go, but it doesn't look like 92 is going to go. And at this point, I don't want no part of this. And as I'm done getting out of this position, I see PLTR now have broken 93, not PLTR, DLTR having broken 93 even. So we're walking away from that one. DKS bouncing strong. That's $1.78. Looking for the highs to go. Almost $2 now in the money. If we can get above here, I can actually bring the stop in just underneath 135 and lock in at least 75 cents or so. As long as we can keep going with this market. Where's the market right now? Still working 90s? Yes, it is. It's trying to stabilize above 90 and maybe take a breath before we actually take a leg up to 4,500 even. Preferably, that's the direction I would rather go. It would make me hesitate so much to actually go for the short. If the setup is there, on the short side, I'm kind of like obliged to do it based on how I trade. But at the same time, it's always concerning to me about the amount of stops that are going to be above 4,500 even on that. And CRM, wow, that's quite the bounce off of 266. I guess it's going with the market. The setup still looks good, but it is not a comfortable trade at the very least here. So it looks like we're going to kind of work this 267 and 268 still. So we're going to let that go and see if we can actually get this thing back in the money or let it go in the money. For now, though, there's not a whole lot. We're back to SBRT, and guess what? Yeah, it's gone quiet, right? It's kind of bouncing around 36, 42, kind of just bouncing around, and hopefully we get a breakout at some point, because I imagine this is not done. Maybe it's just taking a breath, volume's kind of just being settled in, and hopefully we can actually get a move and make some money, whether it's to the downside or to the upside. I don't really care, but as long as there is a move, that'd be nice to actually make some money.
Neuro's still going to be my second best stock of the day at this particular point, but I'm going to leave this offer here for posterity. And not posterity, just because I wanted just to allow it to open up. And I said, why just jam out of the last of the shares that you have? Who cares? Allow it to open up. Was looking at that 15. I said, if it rejects 15, I'm going short on Neuro. Not aggressive enough, because this is a 1484 that I'm going to cancel. Didn't get it because it didn't bounce off 15. It bounced off of 1485. So I saw it turn, and I tried to hit 1 cent down. 1 penny. That's how aggressive I was with that order. I mean, at the time, it kind of felt like I thought it was pressing into the 15 there, and I kind of probably should have been more aggressive with it. Looks like Neuro's going to hold out below. I'll stick out of this trade at least for a bit until we hold below this 14.20 area. But another one before we go to Brendan, TKAT rejected hard for like the umpteenth time off of 13. It's putting in lower highs each time. It's like this thing either takes out 12 even down here, or I'm holding on to this, because if TKAT eventually breaks this 13, it's going to halt to the upside. Brendo?
Yeah, frustrating on that TKAT so far. Netflix just popping up here, guys. More than 2% to the upside today. A nice look for about 550 in the pre-market. We're up 14, 15 bucks. Nothing significant. I mean, there's a couple of minor headlines for Netflix regarding some online gaming releases. A couple of new releases coming for Netflix, but nice day for them.
All right, one trade I am looking at here is Moderna, mRNA. This is an area that I was actually looking at for a few days now. 380 even. So let's zoom this chart out and we get it to load a few days worth of interest here. And look at this, going back into the 20th, so last Friday or so, and around 23rd, 24th, stabilizing around 388 and whatnot. There was a gap there. I'm looking at 380 and see if we can actually jump into a long right in front of this and kind of like catch a bounce back into 390. The risk on this, I'm not going to put up more than $5. Yeah, $5 or so. So 385 is what I'm looking at for potential long. 380 even is the potential short, or not the short, the potential stop. That's one trade I'm looking at the moment. And the other one that we had here, the DKS long, spun right around 136. So we're flat. We're out of this. We walked away with, we were long 134 something, 134.90, 134.23, and we got out at 134.88 average price. So it's about 60 something cents on average.
Oh, I do something for you guys.
All the shares. What's up?
I'll do this one because Sean's back next week. By the way, if you guys don't know, why is this chart? Oh my goodness. I hate my button. There we go. I load up by this chart. This is going to be 88 breaking back up to 280, but interesting because a lot of times when you look at buying the dips here, technically, it's just as simple as like you take your 10, 20% retracements or just off the obvious level, like triple bottom here at 240, and then it holds a 250 level instead of coming down to 240. So it does feel like a bit of a celebration on hand. It's approaching that $3 range. Maybe it gets there today, but the technicals sometimes are a little bit too obvious on these bad boys for trading if you guys are trading those particular names. So shout out there. I know Katina's going to be happy with that. Sean's going to be happy with that. I've known him a long time, and in high school, like all our friends, everyone gets called by their last name. So apologies, just saying Katina. His name is Sean Katina. You guys all know that. Some trades that we are still in, CRM, if it breaks 270, that's the only way I'm getting out, giving that one some room. Semi here, we talked about that test up at 340, so it has yet to break out that high. Able to get more shares on the way back down here, of course, as I mentioned. Took some out in front of VWAP, took some out in front of 311, taking some out in front of 3. I want to see if I can't hold on a 3 break, but y'all saw what just happened in Neuro. So quite obviously, this is a situation where I will not be canceling my stop. I will have a stop. No matter what happens, I will put the stop in there. Speaking of Neuro, yeah, I'm not going to be happy about this. It's just the way I am. Like, no matter what's going on, I'm going to dwell on the mistake that I made and sort of go over it over and over again so I can understand how not to make that mistake again. I already know what not to do, but I also missed the short trade here off that 1450. The other way I could have played this as it was coming down, I probably didn't need to cover the last of those shares at 1420. If I wanted the short here, I could have quickly held on to them, but I already made the decision to cover. I could have also shorted once it got below that halt price, the consolidation 14, only it didn't really consolidate. Too whippy. There was probably an entry at 1420. The only issue is it was so whippy, I don't know where you put your stop. That's the only excuse I have for not getting into it. Alibaba, which we've talked about, hopefully not necessarily reacting with the market. Now, the only reason why I wouldn't have, like Arun, I know you probably covered some shorts there, right? Well, it made some sense, at least I think. I didn't do it in Alibaba just because I feel like I'm playing this one off of not Fed-related news, not market momentum. This is based on, of course, the bad news when it comes to all of the Chinese tech stocks, and we're playing this trend. So it has a little bit more to do with that. That's why I feel comfortable sitting in the Alibaba trade, keeping the stop in there. I do question if I should have changed my mind on Salesforce. I didn't. I'm going to give it to my stop and we'll see what happens. There is that NNA, which this was a cash and this is an all stock offer that they got. So I want to say, and apologies for not knowing the symbol. Read the press release. They're getting like 1/8 of like 0.125 cents a share, I think, for whatever the other companies that's acquiring them. So find out what that is. I don't know it off the top of my head. You'd have to read the press release, and then that's where it's going to move, right? So because it's going to be all stock, in my estimation, it should just move based on the price movement of the acquiring company. It's not necessarily a momentum play unless you're watching that, Brendo.
Still keeping my eye on some of these comments coming out, guys. I mean, he's saying everything he essentially should at this point to help the market. So nothing earth-shattering to mention as far as Powell's comments. Wanted to mention Apple, guys, because we're right back to these highs. If the whole market's going to go, obviously a stock like Apple is going to have to be among the leaders, but only 0.3 so far, back to pre-market resistance for Apple.
Yeah, as the whole market goes up, there goes that. Well, Apple also a big percent of the indexes too, right? So as the market goes up, Apple's probably pushing it, helping that push as it gets closer and closer towards 4,500. This kind of, I think at this point, it's pretty evident that they're looking at 4,500 going, well, how many stops are up there? Can we get it up there? And I think we can. Given how the market wants to look at these levels, yeah, absolutely. Let's see how we can actually stabilize on the futures above 4,500. At the moment, though, we're 2.5 points away from the futures 4,500 level. Now, let's take a quick look at mRNA. I was looking at 380 on the support zone, maybe 385 we can get that long. It's still working 380. It is so close to 380 that if it takes this out, that trade is scrapped. There's no way I can get my hands on that long. I'm not willing to take that shot. It has to bounce here, kind of confirm the action that we were seeing, and maybe we can get that trade. But for now, though, it doesn't look like we're going to get a chance at that shot because 380 looks like it may want to go with this market. The one of the few stocks that are actually bucking the trend with the actual market itself. Moderna down almost 5% at the moment. DLTR spun around, so that short was one of those trades that I had pared down. As Neil mentioned, we had taken a 3, 4, 5 cent winner on that, and CRM is a problem. The only other short that we have. What I'm thinking on CRM is to spin this trade around. We're going to lose on the short, okay. Why not spin this to the upside and see if we can get a 270 long and take this up into the 272, 272 half area. And that's an option as well, right? When one trade doesn't work, sometimes there's potential for the flip side of the trade that might make you all that money back and then some, or it may just not do anything, but you do have to take that opportunity. If it's part of your system, then you just go ahead and take it. And for me, it is. So one level usually provides 2 opportunities, one trade in front of the level, one trade breaking the level. 270 is the level, 267 is a short. That's the trade that's in front of the level. And then obviously if that breaks, we're going to flip this trade and go for the long and put 268 as a stop on CRM.
And Neuro making another pop into the upside. I got the daily chart up so you can see like these bars here. Like it's about that 15 level where it's testing right now. It has broken before, and I'll go all the way back into August, early August. When it's broken, you got 16 tops. You got just breaking above that 16 area. But obviously a big test happening here on Neuro. Look, because I'm going to sit this one out just after. I'm not going to take the break along at 15 as it just goes through there, but it would set up for me where if it were to do a fail break, which it doesn't feel like it's doing now, I kind of would have wanted a short on a fail break. Oh, maybe it is. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. We'll see. I mean, it just put in a high at 15.20. So in the event that that's a potential fail break, I'll go short here, 15.20 stop, which could come like almost right away. That's one of those things where if it's going to set up, I almost have to take every time I get that set up with a failed gel break off a key level where it's already showed some downside action. Like you already had a halt up that sort of rejected. You have a double top here that was going into that halt price at 14.20. That gives you a clear first out in front of that 14.20. So I kind of know exactly where I want to take some profit. It's a good risk to reward from here to that price. 35 cents slippage one way, about 50 to 60 cents the other way. And the crazy thing is when you trade setups like this, as opposed to like I already know in my head, like I didn't have to really do that math. I kind of already knew as long as I don't pay down past about like 80 to 85 cents, knowing where it was relative to that 14, 20, 80 cents up to that 15 level. So as long as it doesn't break past the quarter, and as long as I don't chase it past that 80 to 85, the risk to reward is going to work for me on that particular setup. So I kind of already know that baked in, and I'm not thinking about that in the moment. Like this is why I sit there going over like every single day, basically the same setup. So the more you do it, the less you have to think about it, the more you're actually executing it. So if it loses, it loses. Fair enough. Neuro's going to be a good stock for me, but I've already put on a setup that I like. I'm not really looking at that SPRT. I kind of said we got to sit this out till we get 30s or we break that 44, and that's proving to be true here. And then as it gets stopped out there on Neuro to take the top off. So started off well. We'll take a couple of hits on Neuro. I'm walking away from this until it breaks that 16 high that we saw on the daily chart, guys.
Yeah, and we'll go back to the futures. My screen here, you see the futures sitting at 44.9950. This is the level 2 on the futures at the moment. So we actually did get above the 4,500 mark by a quarter point or a tick, one tick, because it moves in quarters. So the thing is, though, the stops aren't sitting. No one's putting their stop one tick above 4,500. So we have to see, I would imagine we would have to see 4,501, 4,502 to get some stops going. And that's critical, right? I want to see how much action we can maintain above 4,500 before stepping into a trade. If we do take a long, though, let's just say we end up getting into a position on the long side. Well, where this market bounce after getting into the 44.90, it looks like it's around 89 and change. So let's call it 90. So it could be a 10-point risk on the futures if we decide to go for the long. And there goes CRM to the exit. We are out of exit. And Neil, you had something about BABA?
No, I was going to say CRM. Bye-bye CRM. I knew there had to be a negative stock move, gates of hell. The option I had on CRM was, of course, to just get out of the trade. You know, the second we got the market reversal. The decision to hold on to BABA, I got no issue with that because that actually makes some logical sense. But CRM, I could have taken that one out, like basically right here, like that 67 area. And maybe it was the right decision to take it off there, not allow it to have the stop break. You got to put yourself to a choice there. Like, are you sticking to your trade setup, or are you adjusting your plan midstream because of something that happened in market conditions? I'm looking back on it now. Hindsight's 2020. It feels like it was the wrong decision. It's definitely something I'll be thinking about here because I could have saved myself some shekels. And like I said, it doesn't matter whether you're up or down. You got to make sure you're analyzing your trades and making the proper decisions. Now it's 10:20. Time for the small cap recap. Let's go to Brendan at the big screen.
Hey guys, yeah, small cap time for you to discuss this morning. I'll give you my take on support.com. I did my very, very best to avoid this entirely today because, quite frankly, it scares the crap out of me. But once it did start to break back down here, I mentioned right before the open, I joined the very expensive, it was 67 cents per share on the short side to get locates for this today. But retook 43 was initial support, and then 45 was the level above that. And then this 40 ends up bouncing off 40. Once that broke, that got me involved. That gave you, $10 to the downside. So yes, you're risking $2-3 to the upside, but what a move that was off of the open. I haven't touched it since. It rejected 40 again multiple times here. Now moving back towards 30. So a very, very tricky stock to trade. Tread lightly, but definitely among the better ones today so far as range. This one, not so. CEMI, I mentioned 340 just before the open. 340 to 350, we'll call it a bit of an area on the daily chart. But this is running out of volume, running out of steam already, and kind of running out of patience for this thing as well. It gets down to 305.3. People start buying it back up again. So stuck in a bit of a range for CEMI. Same with TKAT, stuck in a range as well. Really nice levels to work off of from yesterday's high. It tested them a couple of times and failed. So that's kind of what we're looking at, 13 up to 1350. We're starting to break down here a little bit, guys, on TKAT. Back over to you.
All right. SPRT broke that 34 range we were looking at, and I was trying to get some shares. I couldn't get my hands on anything. The problem was I wasn't willing to cross down hard enough, so I was on the offer every single time, and then there wasn't enough shares coming up to get me on the get me filled on the short side. So I've been trying to get short since 34 went. And I wasn't getting anything. And here we are. We actually halted at 31.97. We're back into this range now. We halted down here before, and at 30, we halted at 34 something. We opened at 30.70 something or 30.80 something, and then we bounced. That was that bounce move that we kind of got greedy and went all the way to 42 with, and then here we are back inside that range. So at this point, if you can't get 34, there's no way I'm willing to kind of chase this further than 30. Like at 32, I'm kind of done, right? I'm not chasing this any further because we've already shown that we can bounce here. There's some support here. I think the next potential area that you can actually work with to get short, 28 even. that's where we've been spending some time in the pre-market as well. So why not work with that and see if we can actually gap down into that and maybe take a trade. But it does look like at the moment with the halt and given the auction price, what it looks like, 31.01 seems to be the price that they're going to be opening back up at the moment with 80,000 shares. But you know, that changes. That changes very quickly as the stock gets more and more volume done. We are flipped on CRM. We took the hit. We flipped to the long. The setup is in play to the buy side now. We're looking for longs here. 270, 268 is the stop here. $2 in risk. Upside is going to be about $2, $2.50 or so to the upside, and see if we can get that target. Now that the market itself has broken 4,500 and it got to 45.02 quarter, right? And this is what I was saying. This is one of those situations where you need to trade above here, and they barely got above here. Some stops went off. Got it up to 45.02, not a whole lot of follow through, right? This is the concern for anyone who's shorting in front of something like this and putting the stop out. This is where you get squeezed out and then it comes right back down. You need some trading to get done above 4,500 before stepping into a long, because that was absolutely a mess for anyone who was actually shorting and putting a stop. That was an absolute mess. And there was unnecessary exits if you were actually using 4,500. Now, if we can get it back above 45.02, trading the 45.03, 45.04 mark, and actually stabilize a little bit, then I could say, you know what, we're going to trade above 4,500 for, you could see that trade potentially developing. But for now, it does look like that's just a squeeze on stops. And this is absolutely the situation I was trying to avoid. You could argue, hey, why don't you go for the short? Not my style. If it was a level I had marked off already, I could argue that. But right now, this is not my style at all. I'm going to wait for the trade to develop and give me some more information to work with. But not a whole lot going on, apart from the futures going absolutely nuts and taking all the stocks with it. Obviously, SPRT is broken 34. We're waiting for that to figure out whether we can get 28 breaks to go for more shorts, or this market's just going to bounce again and kind of flirt with trading within ranges on certain stocks. And then you have DLTRs taking off. Moderna, I think, is gone as well, below 9.
BBIG also made a push to the high of the day. Neuro pushed 16. I tried it off that 16 level. That also failed. So that stock is stupid strong right now. Although it did come back below 16 a couple of times, it's now battling at that 16 price. But it's BBIG, which is currently at a high. There's no clean levels on this thing until you get to like maybe like 420, 430, and then above there, like just in front of that $5 range. So this could be a bit of a choppy one. This feels like it's better off, like you're better off buying dips. I'm down to semi, it's ChemBio, but I'm calling it semi, and Alibaba, which looks fine. Although I'm telling you, like I've been sitting out support. Yeah, I would say Spirit. So let's go Spirit. I've been sitting this one out since it had that last down halt reopen when we got the breakout long, and basically waiting for the retest down here. I mean, if it were to break 44 or 43, 44 up here, that would have been interesting. But now we're going to be testing some of these bottoms, right? This is 30 here, where it made that resistance of halting to the downside a second time at 30, and then of course you've got all this consolidation at 28. We open here because it's 32, right? So it's a potential that you could halt in that 28 level because it would be that 10%, especially if it opens really tight. But decent chance that if it opens lower, you'd have to actually halt below that 28 level. So holding 28 would be both holding a halt band potentially to the downside and bouncing off a support level, which kind of puts it in the same range for a bit of a bounce back in long on support. So that's what I'm looking for when it opens up in a matter of seconds here. Got to be very specific. I don't want to take a breakout long like we did before. 32. I only want to test it breaking sort of holding a low at that 28 level. I mean, it could hold 30, but I kind of feel like 28 would be the jam.
Yeah, it was 30 to 150 something is what I saw. And this, like that's the issue with taking halts at these prices. We've already established that we're going to find support. You could argue, hey, why you can take the long off the bottom. You could, but then what's your risk on something like that? At least when you go into a halt, that you have kind of an idea of what you want to work with. But if you go long off of this, you're going to have to use 28. It has to be done. So if you're going to go long 31, 50, 32, even looking for a bounce off of this level after a halt, risk kind of gets a little out of control. So for me, I like to control my risk a lot on trades like that. So hey, you know what? We're going to wait and see how much more we can get done. Maybe above 40, that could be something I could work with. Something that I did notice, somebody in the chat mentioned this earlier, and I finally got around to looking at the chart on it. Bill, wow. 54 $25, up on Bill after breaking 255. Here we are at 275. That's quite the move. And whoever called that out, if you are long, damn. Okay, so good job on that, because that was quite the move. It's kind of thin though. Well, the level 1 is thin. It has done 3 million shares, but the level 1 is level 1 and the level 2, I guess, would be thin. So you can't do a whole lot of volume. It's also, the spread is nearly 50 cents. So I'm not sure how to get into this at this point, given the trade's gone already. You can't really, maybe you could have taken 270 break 15 minutes ago or so, but at this point the trade is gone. And the only trades we got left, hey, CRM, 270 long, that's coming back a little bit. SPRT bouncing off that 31 mark, 31.50, 32 even-ish. Futures coming off of 4,500, not a surprise there. We were expecting something like this. What's up?
Remember Gap?
Yes.
Yeah, there was actually a stock. Remember earnings on Gap that broke through that 28, showed no signs of turning through or holding that 27.50 area to 28, which I was interested in. That probably shouldn't have been a short through 27.50, but I'm looking at a bit of a bounce long. This on the 15 minutes. The second I got back to the same, like, okay, we're down to a couple of symbols here. Neuro obviously rejects that 16, but the setup for me didn't work. I'm not going to just get back into it and then keep fighting that stock. And then again, support not really giving me the levels I want to work off of. So you go back to the well on the list, the names that are on my list. Gap with a good report holds 26 in the aftermarket yesterday, which was also a bottom on the 19th. And then we actually get an opportunity to bounce off the top end of that range, which it looks like it did here at 26.60. Now it traveled all the way to 26. I'm willing to start a position here on a gap in that 75 range, work it to that 50 level, probably I won't add to it unless it tests that 50 and bounces, but I think you can get back into 27.50 after putting that kind of a bounce. So gap still positive on the session. 26.35 could also be your support 50 cents down from here because that's yesterday's close. So it could be one of those hold positivity stories. Brendan, what's up, bud?
It is 10:30, guys. That means we have to get a check on Europe. Before we do that, though, if you missed it yesterday afternoon, if you weren't with us, come by on Tuesday, because exciting news. Yeah, Kevin O'Leary making his return to the show, along with the guys from WonderFi, Ben Samaru, CEO, and TikTok superstar Josh Richards going to be on the show Tuesday. Don't forget it. Come by around 10 o'clock, we'll say, for that on Tuesday. As I mentioned, let's get a check on what is happening over in Europe. Miss V, tell them.
Hey Brandon, European markets are mostly positive. Just Eat Takeaway trading in Amsterdam is down more than 6% after the New York City Council passed a bill capping commissions charged to restaurants by delivery apps. Back to you.
Yeah, interesting. That was an interesting story I was reading in the pre-market this morning, guys. Lots of movers today.
Lots of them, and one of them now moving. Well, it wasn't doing a heck of a lot all morning. Now Alibaba, I just turned around. I'm like, man, is Alibaba going to be a reversal? Like, the first look we had was taking a 160 breakdown. I did get one leg out here at 158.50, and we have a stop sitting at 162 the entire time. And now what I'm actually considering is, given the move that we're sustaining here, do I now consider, sort of flipping on even on this name? Because look at this gap off 162. If the momentum's going to be here, and even this is going to spread to some of the Chinese tech names, and why not? Like, you've got room to 165 here in a 162 break. It's going to be, obviously you'll take a bit of a hit, and I'll look the gift horse in the mouth by deciding to hold both Alibaba and CRM shorts, which were both looking fantastic, into Chairman Powell speaking, moving the markets to the upside, and now we're looking gift horses in the mouth on both of those. And again, it's not really about how you're doing on the day. It's more about making those independent decisions. Clearly, it was the wrong one to hold on to those shorts. You could have just covered them and start looking for reversals, which I'm not there yet that I want a long break. I still kind of feel like it shouldn't be necessarily spreading to these, which are moving on their own news. But I am maintaining the stop on 162 on Alibaba. Support's not really doing anything. BBIG is actually slowed down off of this top. Like, it's really starting to churn here. Like, 80s to 90s has basically been just going back and forth here for quite some time. As of course Randy comes through with the Timbits.
Yes,
it's been so busy that I haven't even touched these. And you guys know it's a busy day when I've had 0 Timbits when a Trader TV Randy comes through. Usually I'd be scarfing them down. Lucas would be catching me eating them. While usually it's like Sean talking or Brendan's talking. He'll flip back to me with a Timbit in my mouth because that's what he does. I'll get on that now, but I'm watching this BBIG. The more it sort of slows down here and the volume starts to fall off, I don't know if you guys can see my charts here. As volume continues to fall off, what you'd hate to see is a low volume spike into 4, if you're long, I should say, a low volume spike into 4 that can't break through, because that would be like a sort of like an obvious short off of $4. For now, the volume is still trying to churn through, but I'd be a little bit cautious for you guys holding on to this one if the volume doesn't really start picking up going into this 4. Definitely a lot of selling happening, I mean buying and selling, that can't seem to push through on BBIG, which was a sympathy play in the first place, guys. And we got to watch out for these open timbits when that fly is still rolling around here, Russ.
Yeah. Maybe we should close it up. Are you going to have one right now? There you go.
No.
Yeah, put you on camera. You have one right now. No?
You're not.
No.
Look, man.
Okay. He's not going to eat it right now. He doesn't want to be on
I'm going to
camera.
make you work a little bit harder than that to catch me eating one of these things, but I will be eating them.
All right. We'll leave him here for a bit and see if we can't get Neil caught eating a Timbit or not. Okay, so I'm going to be straight up and honest with this damn fly. I'm going to be honest about what's happening right now. I'm getting schooled by CRM. I got short, got screwed. Long, out of the money, $1.50. It is taking me to school. In this situation, when today has not been the greatest of trading days, I have like 2 winners and 3 losers. And the losers, especially with CRM being a problem, it's not fun to be in. You gotta slow down, right? The trades that I've been taking, there's not that many, but there hasn't been that much opportunity, and the ones that I've taken haven't worked out. At this point, I'm gonna gear down. I'm not even sure after CRM breaks. It's at 268.50. After it's gone, I mean, I don't see myself taking another trade on CRM. There you go, Neil. Oh no, we weren't fast enough.
Stop it, man.
There's not a whole lot that I'm going to do with this market after CRM breaks 268. Futures, there might be a trade on futures, and we're going to need some more information, right? 44.90 is a setup I'm looking for, but 4,500 has to go. It has to trade above. We need some action, and then we can make a trade. But for anyone who's wondering, how do you handle losing days? Because it's easy to get flustered and easy to kind of be like, oh my God, getting frustrated, revenge trading, doing a lot of things that you shouldn't be doing. Slow down, gear down, man. I'm going to gear down. I'm not having the greatest of days today, so I'm going to slow down. We've had a great week. And then, of course, Friday rolls around when things are just supposed to, kind of wind down a little bit. Things aren't great. So just slow down, take a break. If you made some money this week, great. If you haven't, just regroup for next week. For me today, though, I'm going to there we go. We are out of CRM. That ends up being the biggest loser, the long and the short getting schooled. So what am I going to do? Nothing. I'm going to look at the chat and see what you guys have. And if there's something that sets up, maybe, but I'm going to kind of change my game a little bit, just kind of refine my entry criteria a little bit. So I'm not just going ahead and taking everything. Not that I do take everything, but I do kind of let things slide a little bit, maybe not waiting for enough information or not waiting for enough volume to come through. But now I am going to slow down and wait, and maybe the futures will set up and we have something to trade.
Mic drop. That's 100% right. I'm looking at it, and I'd say 1 too many swings on Neuro, even though I acknowledged like leaving that last like 10% into that hole without a stop was a bad mistake. I kind of feel like maybe I took 1 too many trades on that because of taking that hit. But someone asked, is Gap setting up? I took Gap. It should be, yeah, it's there. So I actually got into Gap after it held twice here at these lows. Now I could have easily waited for like a breakout at 27 even. And maybe that could have been the way to go here. But again, like the second I put up the higher time frame and saw this, I saw that double bottom going back into last week at 26, and then you had that low yesterday's action. You had sort of the end of the day there holding that same level. Drops on a good number, good numbers into this. We can catch a nice little scalp trade bouncing. The market is also relatively strong. I mean, I think you have to take some out here. At least I think I have to take some out here on a 27 break in front of like 27.15 or so, just because you have this level obviously sitting there at 27.20. So covering some in front of it's going to make some sense to me. So I'll get myself an order in that range on Gap. So it's the only long I have on, which is kind of, it stinks. And one of the ones I didn't go over here is TKAT. I definitely got greedy with TKAT here, guys. There's no question about it. So there we go. It definitely got greedy with this. I saw it reject several times at 13. I still decided to hold through a $12 break. It ends up slipping me all the way to 11.85 on that break. So kind of throw away an extra like 15 cents. When I could have easily covered, like could have put a stop in or just actually covered it at that 50 range when it rejected a second time, or even put a trail in at 12.25 when it looked like it was going to do that. Instead, I let it ride. it's one of those things where I kind of felt like TKT had a chance to run, but this is a couple of days into this rally, right? Like how many days in a row do you think it's going to be able to make that move and sustain? Maybe you can't do it on that fourth day. It looks like it could be the truth. Still hasn't broken a low, right? So we didn't take out this 11 low. Now, technically speaking, off of the open, it did take out a low on the second day. But those 930 washouts, you kind of have to put a grain of salt in there. If it immediately rejects, and it immediately rejected that break and came right back up, then broke the high, I consider that pretty strong. So I still think TKT hasn't really broken a low. All of that is changed if it takes out 11.15 today. So watch out for that particular bottom. Yes, you got some support between 10 and 10.50 implicitly at this breakout price and yesterday's close. But the 11 break is going to be a key one. Gap working, support still doing nothing. Neuro hanging around that 16 level, and still BBIG. Like I said, this just feels like, it might not be a trap anymore because it continues to hang out here, but on low volume, gets to that 4 even area and then immediately starts rejecting. So that's kind of what I was saying. If you're in the long trade there, what you didn't want to see happen is it break out of that level at 85 area, break to $4 without making a volume spike comparable to the highs, which is exactly what it did, and then now starting to roll over and reject that 4 even. Bigger volume, it probably presses through, but it's not going to scare any day traders away from it. I didn't take the short because I'm trying not to overtrade at this point. I was probably eating Timbits at the same time. That's a pretty bad excuse. But again, if you're long, that's the kind of thing you want to be looking for when you're taking profit, especially into an even dollar level, which I bet you probably has at least 150,000 shares on. I didn't check. I probably has maybe a couple 100,000 shares just sort of resting there. You can't really see that deep into the book, but if it gets up there, there's probably a decent amount of size. The shorters are going to go in front of that because a day trader can just sit there selling 90. You see me do it, 95, 96, 97, maybe 98, 99. You're not even using a stop order. You're not waiting for it to print 01s and then you're going to mark it out of it at 304. You're essentially removing liquidity from the offer at 4 because there's so much of it there. So your risk is literally that 2 or 3 pennies at wherever you happen to take it. So that's appealing, especially if the volume is not spiking going into that level, right? So it's not like you feel like the momentum slowed down anyways, and it's essentially, it's not a free, it's kind of like a free roll for someone up there. And then they're basically going to be getting out, they're taking 5-10 cent winners. That's why you see the short check up here at 85 instead of panicking all the way down, because day traders that have taken tens of thousands of shares up here are going to slow the move up here, and they're going to slow the move down at 80, and they're going to slow it down at 75. So that's the difference between rejecting a level and crushing all the way back down into VWAP. But if it has all those day traders short in front of the size, it'll be a slower grind into the downside.
Yeah, I'm looking at Bill. When I first looked at this, it was at 275. It is at 283 and still going. We have not had a down move on Bill since 9:50 this morning. It is still going strong, and it is impressive at the speed that it's able to maintain and the angle that it's able to go. So Bill is definitely going to be something that's going to, given that we missed the trade for today, it's going to be something that's going to have to set up on Bill. And I'm sure it is. At this pace, there will be something, whether it's a consolidation that allows us to take the downside break or not, but there will be something in the next few days that we got to keep an eye on Bill. And futures coming off 4,500, not surprised. There could be potentially a short on futures at some point. If we get underneath 4,490, I'd open the door for some shorts on the futures. And in the meantime, we're going to go to Brendan with Sector Watch.
Hey guys, nice way to wrap up the week in positive territory for the overall market. 0.62 currently to the upside. Widespread, to be honest, right across the board. There's a few things on the downside to note. Moderna, one of those, off significantly today, 4.6% to the downside. Retailers outside of Gap, really, the one with earnings, all in negative territory. So some weakness coming out of consumer stocks today in the form of retail shares. HPQ here as well. They reported 3.2% to the downside. Everything else in the tech sector in positive territory. It's the energy group that is leading. We saw in the pre-market 2% plus for oil, back to the upside. I was reading a story saying that gas prices here in Toronto are going to reach all-time highs this weekend, guys. So if you are driving anywhere, fill up today, possibly. Industrial stocks positive, materials and consumer staples also in positive territory. But a nice look for Friday, guys. Back to you.
And
I'm literally driving 4 hours north to the cottage this weekend, so thanks a lot, Brent. I should have filled up.
Yeah, you should have. You could still go.
Randy, I don't even know the name of the city that we're going to. Randy just asked where I'm going. I don't even know. It's equidistance between like Aurelia and Deep River, because that's where I have my in-laws, parents in Aurelia, and then my sister-in-law lives in Deep River. Which, if Deep River sounds really north, Deep River is as north from Toronto as it does sound. But it's absolutely gorgeous up there. Should have bought some property, but didn't do it anyway. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, I'm going to be spending some more money on gasoline to get up there. And for those of you who are asking about Bill, I mean, I'm not forcing my way into a short. I think I probably overtraded in Neuro a little bit, but this, at some point, this is going to be a turnaround. I don't know if it's 300. Although there's when it moves like this, I kind of feel like if it gets there, you don't want it. This could be one of those where the best short is like 96, 97, and if you really just wanted 99s in front of 300. Then that's going to be the bad trade because you're going to have to let it break. So I kind of feel like if there's a turn to be had between 95 and 98, I would try that. And I would allow it to break. If it got to 300, I would allow it to break a 300 before I'd short off of the 300 level. That's just what it feels like to me on this bill. Crazy, crazy momentum, though.
Yeah, gas prices going crazy. Just off topic, the craziest gas price I've ever seen, Neil, and here in Canada we do liters, not gallons, right? So craziest I've seen actually was in New Zealand, that actually also does liters. It was $2.22 per liter. So do the math, 3.6 times for gallons, right? That is ridiculous, and the exchange rate is almost the same. So yeah, the gas prices are obviously a problem. But guess who got a new hybrid? This guy right here. So not worrying about gas anytime soon. So we're going to work that. We're going to save some money here and spend it in the markets and see what we can do and make some money, try to make some more money. So we can actually buy some more gas when I need to fill up again. A hybrid. I got a new hybrid.
Nice.
Yeah, so save some money there. 44.90 is the play on the futures. That's the only play I've got. And Neil, in the chat, I was going through the chat because I had nothing else to do. There you go. Neil was... I have nothing else to do, so I'm going through the chat, and it said, Brent said, don't look a gift Neil in the mouth eating a Timbit. You know how you like to say your gift horse term? Well,
we should get
somebody came in. There you go.
We should get a Timbit graphic. There absolutely it should be a thing. If you've been watching the show long enough, you actually would know that apple fritters are like my #1 weakness. So in my fantasy football league, like, if we make like a bet for like winning or losing, or this guy's gonna do better than that guy, every single consequence for me is an apple fritter. Like, guys can bet, like, you can bet money, you do whatever you want, man. Like, just get me an apple fritter. Sometimes get me a dozen, which has happened. One time, the dozen apple fritters showed up at the office because I want to bet in fantasy football. I shared like half of them because I'm not gonna eat 12. I'll eat 6, but I'm not gonna eat 12. But anyways, I absolutely love my pastries. We want to remind everybody. As Brendan mentioned, we have special guests coming on Tuesday. I actually feel bad because, I'm going to be at the college. I'm happy to be there. Sean will be back, but I'm going to miss out on Mr. Wonderful on Tuesday. He's been on the show several times. It's always a heck of a lot of fun. But, and here's the thing. After the show is done, as usual, the entire team's going to get back to work testing for memes and movers. Trader Prad and Ms. V are very, very excited that it's going to be coming back very, very soon. We're not sure the exact date, but I'm telling you, man, it's going to be close. These guys are working very, very hard. The chemistry is amazing. They're absolutely hilarious. Miss V takes no guff or crap from Trader Prad, and I absolutely love it because sometimes, like I said it before, he can be a line stepper, right? Like, he'll step over that line, you got to check him. And Miss V definitely checks him. It's a lot of fun, guys. It will be back. Of course, we'll be back at 3 o'clock for the Power Hour, which you know is going to be a wild one. You got Jerome Powell, the Fed chair speaking. You have multiple movers here, as I see Neuro making moves to the downside. Support, I mean, as long as support here, I know I haven't traded it since that halt to the upside. I've been very patient. And I should have taken that 30 trade instead of talking myself into waiting for 28. But as long as this thing holds that 30 level, you've got a couple of potential breakouts for the afternoon. Now, one could be off this 38, which doesn't look clean. The other one would be off this 42 area as well. Mitchell Williams. For Ms. V.
Ferrari fund.
Thank you very much for the super chat for the Ferrari fund. First of all, we got to get the camera on Ms. V because I'd like to know, is she a Ferrari person?
Oh, she fancy. She's definitely a Ferrari person.
But actually, Mitchell Williams, shout out, because I was also trading SPRT in the morning. So I'm super happy for you, and thank you for super chat. I'm glad you're having a wonderful day. Bye.
Well, hang on a second. How did you do trading it? That's what we want to know.
Yeah.
Well, I went short in the pre-market, and then it went back to the VWAP. I went out of the position. It was a very nice trade.
So you made money on it.
You went short.
Yeah, I
Good
did a
job.
lot.
Nice.
What price did you get short? I gotta. What price did you get short?
I believe 52.
What? 52.
Yeah.
That was like right near the high. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, you gotta see. Look at the chart here, right? The only places you could have got short. This is Miss V. The only places you got short 52 was either here, or perfect here. All of them good. But that's perfect. I mean, you can see me getting stopped out of a short at 49 up there when it took those levels. So it looks like Ms. V is getting her practice in. Heck, man, by the time when we come back on air, it might be Miss V or Trader V and Mr. Pratt instead of Trader Pratt. I'm joking, Pratt, but Miss V's catching up on your coattails quite quickly there because those are some awesome trades that she's putting on. Alibaba, and this is going to be CRM and Alibaba that I'm learning something on here, had the opportunity to take it out when Jay Powell moved the markets. When the Fed chairman moved the markets to the upside. We knew he was talking. I didn't cover either one of those shorts. I stuck to the structure of the trades. Now we're 30 cents from the stop out here in Alibaba, which again, I should not show you higher time frame trades on a 1 minute chart. Here's the 15. This is where the setup is. It's breaking this level here to stop out. And again, this one, I gave it past this 161.35 pre-market high because you have the 62. I hate those stop outs where you get wicked out on a pre-market high and it doesn't really violate that 62, which also coincides with this aftermarket level up here that it put in on the 23rd. So I stretched the stop out a couple of dollars here just to make sure that we're actually wrong. But I could have been flat on both CRM and Alibaba and not lost on those two trades. And now, I'll be negative on CRM. I'm not yet, but I could be negative on Alibaba as well if it doesn't hold that 162. It's one of those things where everybody does learn. Usually I don't like trading during announcements, during snap news. I kind of decided that the levels were good, probably the wrong decision anyways. It is time for Money Talks. Let's go to the screen with Brennan. He gave me bad news about the gas. Let's see what happens here with the Canadian dollar.
All right, we're going to try this again. Let us know if there's still some static on the mic. We did swap it out, so let us know. Want to talk about U.S. dollar because that happened when Jerome Powell started talking. This is a 30-minute chart, so that goes right back to the beginning of the announcement this morning. The initial move was to the upside on the USD, but wow, decent move back to the downside, lifting basically everything across this board. The euro up 0.35 was more than that. Canadian dollar was up more than 0.5% at one point. Back to 79 and change there for the CAD. Same story for the British pound, still 0.5%, 137 and change for the British pound. Look at Australia and New Zealand benefiting as well. Turkish lira to the downside, Japanese yen, Swiss franc, same story. Crypto's even in positive territory. Day lows as we speak there, guys, for the DXY. Back over to you.
Neil's looking at SGOC. I think he's got some plan for SGOC.
Only 7 or 8 minutes to go here, and yeah, you don't want to necessarily overtrade. But SGOC, we talked about this level here, 1130 on your daily chart. It just broke 11. Look, the problem with this is I'm talking about it now is when you notice that there's a level above the even like that at 1130, that's where you really get that setup, the best setup for the fail break at 11, which you should already be, I should already be in this. I shouldn't be chasing this down to 70 where it's sitting right now. I should be in this trade at 1090, right, to see it roll over. But the key thing here, and this is why we go over the levels here, because in the thought process, because I was sitting the stock out, and I'll short parabolic movers all the time. It's just I was sitting this out saying this is the level up here, guys. It's at 11. You can call it quarters, you can call it 30s. I'll give it that 30 level. And then that gives you that setup that you're looking for when it gives you the failed break. So it doesn't actually have to get to 25, 30. But there's the added bonus of a lot of people who don't, when in doubt, zoom out and only look at the 11 even break. All they see is increasing volume, a running stock, up 25, 30% or whatever it is that particular time, and then it's an even dollar break. And then when it doesn't go, Well, they just went long in front of a resistance level, right? Like directly in front of it. So when it rejects, they might tighten their stops up. In this case, it doesn't seem like people are too scared because they might have their stops down around like 1050 or so. But if this breaks 1050, it's a one-way ticket possibly back into VWAP. Now, the problem with taking the short here in that 50 to 60 range is simply your stop. You're going to put it at 11 when I just told you 1130 is a level. Suddenly you're looking at 60 to 70 cents worth of risk, which is 1-to-1 to VWAP on a strong stock. Don't love that setup. It's much different if you catch it at that 1090 level. Catch it at 1090, all of a sudden you're looking at 2-to-1, and then you can sort of scale out on the way down and make yourself a positive trade. So nuance matters when it comes to that particular type of a setup. And again, I'm not saying this is like the golden standard, just do whatever I say. It's more along the lines of thinking through the trade more so than stock is going up, go long, stock is going down, go short. Like there should be a rhyme and a reason to it. You should have a plan of action, even for something like this. Like it just seems like it's a pure momentum play, but you should have a plan that you formulated that, you know what, it's something that I can understand how it works so that I can track the results, so that if I didn't make the trade, I could still actually paper trade it, record those results accurately, so you're back and forward testing that strategy, right? Like if you don't have those parameters set up, or at least think about how to make them work, then you'll never truly be able to develop your strategies, right? And then all of a sudden you get multiple setups. On a day where a million things are happening, you're able to trade 6 or 7 different stocks instead of just 1 or 2, because you're just looking for the setups that you already know are going to be there when you get these moving names. So that's why I sit here yapping about these over and over again, guys. And I think we have earnings. Oh, it's not earnings. Yeah, it's not earnings yet, yet, guys. But that's my thoughts on SGOC. I didn't chase it. Maybe a good thing because it just checked up here at that 1050.
Yeah, I'm looking at the chat. Jacqueline, good call. Wow. Okay, I see you with the GAMB long. 10 even just broke and it's already at 1043. This thing has been accelerating since 950 pretty much. So that's something that we got to keep an eye on now. So GAMB to the upside, wow, quite the mover now that it's gotten above 10 even. This might accelerate even further because now that SPRT has gone quiet, people may move into this stock and get this thing going. So we'll wait on that. But one trade that is setting up for me right now, actually, almost there. We're almost there. Futures, it bounced off 92, and here we are back above 4,500. This is good. This is the kind of move I want. If I'm going to go long above 4,500, and I will, as soon as we take out some highs and we kind of settle in a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and take the shot at the long side. I want to see how much upside we have above 4,500. So 44.90 stop, 4,500 on the upside break. Not the break, but it's going to have to keep going towards the highs and then kind of settle in. And once we get that move, I will go ahead and take that shot. But that is the only other trade I've got, apart from the one that I'm seeing. Bill came off a little bit, off the 288 and change, back towards 280. But again, this trend is so strong that this could easily just be a temporary selling point as it bounces back up towards 290. So I'm not going to get too excited about that one. But the other one, apart from GAMB, it's going to be the futures, right? That's what we're doing. And SPRT, man, is stabilizing. It's gone quiet. This might be something that pops off in the afternoon session. But for now, though, not a whole lot to work with. It's gone real quiet. So we're going to wait for this one to kind of get going, if it gets going by the end of the day.
Not to tell you to get into a trade, Arun, because we would never do that. That's nonsense. But like Alibaba here, it's actually holding the top end of this range, which, I mean, two things. One, we talked about potentially that reversal, taking out the short and going at 62 long. What this now gives you is, that if you wanted it, a tight stop on a 162 break, because you now all of a sudden you have this like 160, like 85, or because look right here, like it fell off at 160.65. It then rejected about that price area, maybe up to like a 160.70 at the open, and then it had a bit of an acceleration through, now holding the top end of that range. So that gives you a natural stop out for a 162 break long. It also kind of gives you, I'm already in this, I'm not adding to this position when the market's this strong, by the way. It would give you a setup for a short at 160.85 here, or breaking through, maybe give it to 75. I don't actually like that idea because I kind of feel like, clearly this run to the upside is also carrying through Alibaba as well. So I'm not going to compound the mistake. I'll just leave the stop in at 162. We always do one more thing before we get out of here, and it looks mighty tasty. Although, I mean, I've had my fill of Timbits, so I probably couldn't add any more desserts to the menu. What is the national day, Ms. V?
Hey guys, another week passed together. I hope you had a wonderful days full of opportunities and wonderful trades. Thank you very much for all the support, all the love. Special shout out again to Mitchell for adding to my Ferrari fund and for everything you do for us, guys. And please, before you leave, make sure you like this video because that's very, very important for us either. We'll be back at 3:00 p.m. Eastern Time, and happy National Potsdam Cream Day.
What's the cream?
What is that?
I have no clue. It just looks like a bowl of chocolate, but with some whipped cream on top. But I mean,
Randy seems to know what it is.
what is it, Randy? Yeah, what is it though?
He
just knows the name of it,
So he
apparently.
says it. Randy is literally saying it to us in absolutely perfect French, because I mean most Canadians probably, and I don't, but speak pretty good French anyways, in a good accent. And then he's like, "We're like, what is it?" And he, "No, I don't know what it is." I'm like, "You can say it perfectly. I thought you knew what it was. It looks delicious." Brendan, you know what that is?
No,
Nah, I
not
didn't.
terribly familiar, but it looks good. So,
Yeah.
happy weekend, all.
Chocolate mousse. Chat says it's chocolate mousse.
See,
we'll go
just
with that.
another reason why you guys are the best. It's like, who needs Google when you've got a community like, you'll correct us when we're wrong, if I'm mispronouncing a stock name, if we're missing out on something that's moving. You guys are all over it. Thank you so much. And Mitchell Williams, thank you so much again for the super chats. This one for Arun's gas fund. Arun Gas Fund, you got a hybrid, so I mean, it's not all electric,
I'll
bro.
use that next month, maybe.
You might need it, man, with the way prices are going. But thank you guys so much for all the support. Of course, we're right back at 3 o'clock. You know Power Hour is going to be a great one to end this week. I hope everybody, you should be tuning in the afternoon, even if you're just going to watch the trade, because I think post, given this day with the Jackson Hole meeting, should be an interesting close. But if you're not, have a fantastic weekend. Got to go down the line for the entire team. I'm going to start with Trader Brad. Wherever he is, I don't know if he's on the camera, but for Mr. Trader Prad, for Miss V, a Ferrari person, for Arun doing a fantastic job, of course, filling in all week for Sean. He'll be filling in for me next week, and for my man Sean Katina, who is your vacation's ending and mine's starting, buddy, in your face. No, I'm just kidding. And for Brendan Wickens, I'm Neil Roberts. Good morning, good
can't see
afternoon,
it.
good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Trader TV Live. See you at the close.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.